And the dog's barking.
Tell your friends you're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
We have another very special episode. We have the 1994 movie Speed. Nathan, do you have a history of the movie Speed?
This was part of family movie time. I think we went and saw this as a family.
Yeah, I think we did, yeah.
I remember this one because I think mom and dad or mom or dad would go do a sighting shot on the movie and be like, well, this is okay. We'll go watch this as a family. And then we'd go see it as a family. So, I think this is one we all saw together because I remember this and like Terminator 2. And there was a bunch of movies we saw together.
No, we never saw Terminator 2 together.
You didn't? Okay.
I didn't. I know I didn't. I didn't see it in the theaters. The first time I knew about it because other people, other parents took their, 8-year-old children to see it, but not me. But I only saw it when it was on one of those HBO free previews. That's the first time I saw Terminator 2.
Oh, okay. Okay. But I think you did see this one with us.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I saw this in theaters. I don't know if we went to Marion or if it was at the Eagle Theater.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Probably went to Marion.
Probably went to Marion because they had a multiplex there. That's back when going to Marion was like okay. Now situations are much darker there. I hear it's like to Marion. Of course, when you close all the factories, it's like, yeah, I wonder why the town's terrible. Who knows? It's all mystery.
Yeah, we moved away there, but I'm still next to a Marion, so
yeah, that is interesting. Marion, different state, different place.
Yeah, though it's weird because I guess I've never really done huge research on this because I remember a lot of people had like their myths about the filmmaking process on Speed.
Yeah.
Which is how I heard it was that like this was a movie saved in editing.
Okay.
And reshoots. Like I heard like it was basically the movie starts on the bus and then like when it blows up, that was basically the end of the movie. And then Harry was the bad guy and stuff like that. And then I heard like, there was a last minute casting of Dennis Hopper, and then they shot the front end and the new back end, and then they put it together, and through editing they made they completely saved the movie. Now, as far as I know, none of that ever happened. These were all considerations in the script writing process.
Yeah,
where it was just the bus. It was just the movie was just on the bus, and then the producers wanted a book end and a back end. Which I feel like the first one's fine, but I feel like the last bit is too much. Like,
yeah,
it's just one.
There is a part of this movie that seems tacked on.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, we gotta tie up all the loose ends, but man, we're doing it in a very protracted way.
I mean, I guess the producers, I guess, were just thought people would be too bored if it just took entirely on a bus, so that's why they added like kind of the front end and the back end to it. So,
I heard it was originally called Minimum Speed.
Yeah.
And then they just changed it to Speed because it's like, well, that would make it seem like it's slow or something.
Yeah, it has minimum has a negative connotation to it. So
yeah.
And I think like during the rewriting process where he added like the front end and the back end to it, he brought in Joss Whedon, who's not credited here, but Graham Yost said he did like 90% of the dialogue. So it seems like Graham did all the scenario stuff, and then all your favorite dialogue is probably done by Joss Whedon.
Now that you say that, it's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I would have never guessed that, but it's like, oh, that's why everyone has pithy dialogue in this. Especially Dennis Hopper. I love his like bribe thing. He's like, look, at my age, you got to plan ahead, and it's said like Dennis Hopper. Which is always, it's like, yeah, okay.
Or just a little bit where like the newscaster says something like a whim of a man. He's like, yeah, I like that whim of a man. It's like doing like weird stuff like that. It's like, yeah, this is why I get Dennis Hopper to be a weirdo. So because
he does it the best.
Yeah. Well, it's great because it's like his performance in this movie. It's like it's like dumb and brilliant at the same time. Like you could have put this in any movie, and depending on the quality of the movie, that would depends on what your quality of what you think his acting is in the movie. Because like
Yeah.
he's not really doing anything that different in like Super Mario Brothers. It's just that's a bad movie that has a weird like turn on it nowadays. But it's not,
Well, it's got a very memorable. Super Mario Brothers has a very sincere cast. It's like, we're going to make this work, by God. And they didn't, but they certainly tried hard. They
Yeah.
dedicated themselves to it. Dennis Hopper, you just throw him into things. I mean,
Yeah.
David Lynch just is like, yeah, act like Dennis Hopper. It's like that's what we want. That's what he does in every movie. He's always Dennis Hopper. He's dour Dennis Hopper. He's energetic, psychotic Dennis Hopper. There are different levels of Dennis Hopper, but it's always flavored like Dennis Hopper. You know who you're getting. Whether he does science fiction or action or somber movies, it's always the same guy, which is good because it's fun. You like that kind of weird energy.
Yeah. And I thought this movie was like nominated and won the Academy Award for best screenplay, original screenplay, but no, this came out the same year as Pulp Fiction, so it wasn't even nominated. This did get Oscars, but it was for like sound editing and sound design.
Yeah, I remember this was a very I wouldn't say special effects driven, but this was a very loud movie.
Yeah.
Really got your attention in a lot of ways. Yeah, because let's see who Graham Yost gets the writing credit on this.
Yeah.
And he is like, oh, this guy's done everything. Justified, The Americans, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, he worked on like a bunch of HBO miniseries, like From the Earth to the Moon, The Pacific, Band of Brothers, and then the recent Masters of the Air. He did the latest that Silo Apple TV show, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's a lot of executive producer, which is kind of amorphous because then you read it and he like, oh, he wrote this script, he wrote that script.
Yeah, I mean, if you use if you use the Joss Whedon example of like I need a guy to do dialogue and I'm good with the scenario stuff, it's like, oh, he's probably a better producer than a writer, but that's exactly like what makes a good TV producer, someone who can write a little bit and just kind of like come up with the overall design and let other people fill in all the dialogue and character stuff.
Yeah, I think his biggest thing to his name was Justified because he was essentially a showrunner there too.
Yeah.
And then The Americans, he did a lot of. He wore a lot of hats on The Americans.
But like he did some of your favorite because this is definitely a movie I would say like a dumb fun action movie, and like when I say dumb, what I mean is like it's just it's a convoluted plot that's very narrow, and it seems like, well, everything has to go right for this to happen, and it's like, yeah, that's the fun of it, but like there's so many movies where it's like it goes wrong where you don't suspend your disbelief, so then you're just bored by it and turn it off. But like,
oh, he's been involved with either writing, directing, or not directing, but either writing, producing, or whatever. Some of my favorite idiot movies like Broken Arrow, Hard Rain, Last Castle. It's like I will always watch those movies when they're on. I don't know why, but they're fun.
But yeah, but like those are like his big movie scripts. But if you look at his television stuff, it's like prestige television work, and it's it's the same guy. Which
actually,
like
the Last Castle was always a little smarter than what people gave it credit for.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people was just like, yeah, it's 2001, so I'm not sure if it came out pre 9/11 or post 9/11. But yeah, I think it just like had a mood miss there, especially when it's about like
corrupt military people.
Yeah, military prisoners and stuff like that. But now you have to like turn it like, well, it's like, no, we can't have any negatives about military personnel whatsoever. Let alone ones that are like taking over a prison.
And James Gandolfini was like, that was, Tony Soprano to everyone. Now he's like, oh, he's a corrupt, he's like a psychotic prison warden. But that's kind of a cool movie just because Robert Redford's in it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like produced by Joel Silver, so this is definitely like, one of his heydays of producing action films.
Oh yeah.
Of course, this is why, like, you get Keanu Reeves in Matrix eventually. Although,
Yep.
he's never the first choice for the Matrix. He just ended up being the best choice for the Matrix. So.
He's perfect choice for the Matrix. John Wick. It's like those are the roles you want him for.
Yeah, but nobody starts out like getting like, no, this was made for Keanu Reeves. It's just like we end up with Keanu Reeves because like somebody who's like seen as a bigger star is just too busy and they're not sure of it. It's like, get Keanu, he's cheaper and he'll try harder.
People show up and work you to death. He's like, do that. It's well, he's acting is so wooden. It's like, are you paying attention to the characters he's playing? They're not exactly like deep.
Yeah.
You know? Neo is just like that's just like the protagonist character for the people watching the movie.
Yeah.
It's like that's not what he's meant to do.
But yeah, like, yeah, it's funny because like, Joel Silver produced Die Hard, so of course they originally wanted John McTiernan to do Speed, but he thought it was too similar to, it was just a rip off of Die Hard, so he didn't want to do it. So then he suggested Jan de Bont, who was his cinematographer for Die Hard, to do this movie. So that's how he ended up doing this, which is also kind of ironic because if you look at this movie, it seems to be, it precedes a lot of movies that like you feel like, oh, did Speed influence that or not? Because like Speed seems a lot like Die Hard with a Vengeance, but that comes out the next year, so there's almost no way they influenced each other.
Yeah.
But that's directed by John McTiernan, and he thought that wasn't a. But I guess it was literally Die Hard, so maybe he was like, "Well, it's fine then. It can be a rip off of it." But
yeah, it's meant to be actually. Yeah, Jan de Bont was like, he went.
Directing wise, yeah, I mean, he was a big time cinematographer. Like he worked with like Paul Verhoeven a lot. He worked on like tons of action movies of the 80s and 90s that you loved. But yeah, he did this Speed.
He did Twister right after this.
Yeah, Twister's right after this. So then, yeah, he's just like a big time movie director, and then he does Speed 2 with that bombs.
Yeah.
I'm on the wrong page. Where's his directing credits? Come on.
The next big thing he did was The Haunting.
Yeah, which I didn't like it. I think we all went and saw that, but it was fine. But I remember not really liking that movie at all.
Yeah, I was hoping for more because of the cast it had in it. Like, oh, this is gonna be cool. It's got Liam Neeson.
I mean, it's a fine like horror movie, and I guess like I don't have any. It's like based on something that I'd never seen before, so I don't even know like what it does well or not. I just remember ultimately just seeming stupid. It's just like people making the dumbest decisions possible because they have to die.
It was a great looking movie with just like a dumb story.
Yeah.
And then we did Laura Croft.
Yeah, he did. That was the sequel. He did.
Cradle of Life.
Yeah, that was the sequel of that was the second of the Angelina Jolie, Laura Croft movies, which pretty much just bombed and was really expensive. Yeah, they put a lot of people behind that because they had like Steven D'Souza like writing on that, which that's like the Die Hard guy. And yeah, after that he just quit directing. I'm not sure if he went back to cinematography or. Let's see how far his cinematography credits go. It looks like he just does some music videos after that and just kind of quits Hollywood.
Yeah, I think he gave up. That or he just made the money he wanted to and just got into like, lower key stuff.
Yeah, let me check his producing credits. Maybe he produced. Okay, he does some producing stuff beyond that. Well, not really. He's a producer on Minority Report. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's like around the same time. I think the Cradle of Life one was 2003. Minority Report's 2002. Oh, he's a producer on Equilibrium? Huh.
Yep.
I don't know what Thought Crimes the TV movie is.
No idea. It's a
it could be a
film.
Wait, is he Dutch?
He's from the Netherlands, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So these could be Dutch stuff, I'm not sure.
Thought Crimes was basically a pilot for USA for a sci-fi show.
Oh, okay.
Never got picked up. So I was like, what's that?
Oh,
yeah, I think he just made his money, or he's probably doing stuff in Europe that we've never heard about.
Yeah. But usually it ends up on here, so I don't know. Yeah, he's still alive as far as I know. So, but yeah, yeah. I never saw Speed 2.
He's 80. Okay, wow. Okay, so he's
Yeah,
80.
yeah,
So
yeah,
he's
yeah. He's retired.
retired then,
Yeah,
effectively. All right.
yeah. Yeah, I never really like watched Speed 2 like all the way through, so I don't. I never actually. I just remember it was just it was seen as monumentally a bad movie, and I don't know exactly how bad it is. You watch the trailer, and it's like it seems like it would be fun, a fun dumb movie, but no.
I'll tell you, it was kind of Sandra Bullock was like really being like sincerely trying to lead the role,
Yeah,
and I mean I think everyone tried hard
yeah.
because the bad guy in it,
Is that Willem Dafoe's in it?
yeah, it was Willem Dafoe. Like he did that was a cool. I forget. I think he was dying or something. Like there was something about the
I remember he had
character.
some with like leeches. He was like leeching his
Yeah,
blood.
something like that.
Yeah.
But I know they tried really hard. But yeah, it was just kind of you're watching it and it just got progressively dumber and dumber. It's like, how did they do this? They had a couldn't miss formula.
Yeah.
But they just went from a boat to a bus or a bus to a boat, and it's like, well, this kind of doesn't do it.
Yeah. Although I mean, some of that boat crashing the dock at the end, that is like a monumentally like crazy action scene to put into a movie. um, because I saw the crew guys did like a look at that scene. It was actually like really well done for its time because they're like talking about like all the things it isn't. It's like, wait, like are they using green screen? Is this miniatures? Is like this real size? And it was like a combination of everything. Because basically that boat crashing was essentially they had a real size thing, or at least maybe like a 1/10 scale boat, which is still an enormous thing to build for an action scene.
Yeah, that's huge.
But he's a good. I don't know, Jan de Bont. I don't know, like he was a good director. I don't know what to tell you. And he just he had to quit. Good action director, but it's like let the writers do their thing, and then he'll just make it interesting on screen. So it's also interesting to say like I think this movie cost $37 million, and like last week we watched Demolition Man, which was like $70 million. It's like this seems like a way, but also with Demolition Man you have to build a lot of your own sets and kind of do your own design and stuff. Where this is just the real world, so maybe you save a lot of money there. So
Well, and you're also not paying for like Sylvester Stallone.
no,
And you're not paying for
Wesley Snipes.
So he would have been expensive by then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he wouldn't have been too expensive then, probably.
Yeah,
But
Sylvester Stallone would have been.
yeah, definitely. Which I feel like, where was Keanu Reeves' career around this time? Because I know, like, was it like 91 or 90 is Point Break?
Yeah,
But it felt like he was on a lull, and this kind of like, because I remember people talk about this like this saved his career, but it seems like his career is constantly being saved. It's like Speed saved his career, and then it tanked again, and then Matrix saved his career, and then it tanked again, and then John Wick saved his career, and then it tanked again. It's like, I don't know, maybe he just has a career. I don't know.
yeah. I never, because I know he started out with like it was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah.
And then we had Point Break, and then Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which was funny. And then we had My Own Private Idaho, which was
Gus Van Sant.
yeah, but that was like River Phoenix like dominated that
Yeah.
movie. And then we had the weird casting in Bram Stoker's Dracula, where he was the who was he? Who was Harker? He was like the third lead.
Yeah.
And
famously bad acting in that role.
Yeah, well, famous like Francis Ford Coppola was like, "Oh, I got to use this guy." Well, the studio says so. Okay, so I'm gonna be an asshole, and then I don't know what goes on there. And then we had a bunch of movies that I'd never heard of, and then Speed, and then right after that, Johnny Mnemonic. And then we had what was another Chain Reaction. That was kind of a bomb. He did one with Al Pacino where Al Pacino was the devil, right?
Oh yeah, the Devil's Advocate. Yeah.
Yeah, and then came The Matrix, and then yeah, he's done all kinds of movies.
Yeah.
Matrix Revolution, Scanner Darkly, I remember that one.
Yeah.
That was just kind of a weird movie, and then yeah, I know when he was doing like I think he did a couple like I'm a Samurai movies that were like
Yeah.
really expensive and really it's kind of bombed. And then John Wick came along, and
Yeah, I like the Lake House because it's like a sci-fi, like romance movie with Sandra Bullock and and Keanu Reeves again, but like they don't actually see each other till the end of the movie because they're speaking each other. Yeah, they're speaking to each other through a magical time box, time mailbox that where they can leave mail for each other at different time periods at the same house.
and then he had Bill and Ted Face the Music, 2020, and then The Matrix, the latest Matrix, and then John Wick Chapter 4, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what he's doing next, but do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I mean he can. I mean he's older than you think too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's like almost 60 at this point. So.
The cinematographer is Andrzej uh, Bartkowiak. Bartkowiak,
Yeah,
yeah.
take it he's got to be Polish. That looks like a Polish name. Yep, he's from Poland.
Yeah. At least he was trained in the Polish film school. At least that's what the first thing comes up on your Internet Movie Database. Yeah, he's like a music video director, but he's done cinematography on stuff like Twins, um, Dante's Peak. Oh, he worked Devil's Advocate again. So,
Oh, okay.
U.S. Marshals, Lethal Weapon 4, 13
13
Days.
That's a cool movie.
He also directed. There was like this period after The Matrix came out where like Joel Silver was like kind of putting together like kind of good looking B movie action movies, and he directed like all three of them, which was like Romeo Must Die, Exit Wounds, and Cradle to Grave.
Huh.
Which I'm guessing you probably never saw those, but they were kind of very stark looking movies. They probably had a bunch of
Remember Exit Wounds? I did see that. That was Steven Seagal and a rapper.
Yeah, why can't I think of it? Because he died recently.
DMX.
Yeah, DMX. Yeah, I think he's in all those movies.
Yeah.
I think he's in Romeo Must Die and Cradle to Grave.
I think I've seen half of Romeo Must Die, and I just didn't come back to it. No reason. I probably just got.
They aren't particularly good. They're just kind of like they're good-looking movies, and there's like cool action in them, but they're not really good.
Yeah.
And
of course, Doom. 2005 Doom with Carl Urban and Dwayne Johnson.
Man, I hate that movie so much.
How'd you wreck it with that source material?
I mean, they made a fine sci-fi action movie with horror elements, but like, it still didn't capture what the game does, and it also didn't capture what the books did. Which, I don't know, neither the game nor the story or the books have like grand stories, but they just like move the very stereotypical sci-fi pieces around better, and then the movie's just kind of a movie. They made like a weird sequel to that's like only on Netflix that apparently is like huge, like 100 million people have seen it, but nobody knows about it.
Huh. It's like it's big in like obscure countries.
Yeah, it's just like everybody rented it at Redbox, but nobody like talks to each other about it because it wasn't particularly good, but it was enough. It did catch their attention enough to rent it. Yeah, what was the last thing that? Oh, did I just close that out? But yeah, that's the thing I mostly know for him for. What was the last movie he directed? Oh, Dead Reckoning and Maximum Impact. Oh, it was the Street Fighter, the Chun-Li movie. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Which is also inexplicably produced and bad at the same time. It's like, oh, a Street Fighter movie, but it's specifically about Chun Li, and it's not good. And it had like that. What's the blonde guy with the stark blue eyes that was in Band of Brothers? That was like kind of like one of his like he got like a bad he got like kind of a prominent bad guy lead in that movie.
Oh yeah, who was that? Is that the Dean Winters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. It's not Dean Winters. Who was it?
Well, you said bad guy. It's
Well, he's a bad guy in the Chun Li movie.
oh,
And no, it's not that guy. In Band of Brothers, who the fuck was he? It is hard to look at Google in a half shrunk window and when it all looks better in full screen. No, it's not that guy. We're just gonna sit here until I find it. He was like the second lead in the fucking series. How is he like? How did they fuck this up? Maybe he was the notable, but they paid him the least. So. What the hell? Oh, well, I guess he'll be remaining on. Oh, I'll just go to the Chun Li movie. That'll tell me. He'll be the second actor listed.
I'm having internet slow time here, so
Neil.
I've been trying to look it up.
Neil
Okay.
McDonough.
Okay.
He's got like almost like blue eyes that are basically like white, and then blonde hair.
It's got no soul.
Yeah. It's a very striking person. So he basically looks like he has a million-yard stare, which is like great for somebody who's like his most famous role is he's like a war vet in World War II. So.
Is he the guy that couldn't be killed?
No, I think that was like that guy who just kind of like calmed a guy down and then just like casually walked through gunfire to get to another guy.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that guy. No.
Oh, okay.
Or was he even in Band of Brothers? Or was he just in like fucking Saving Private Ryan and I forgot about it? This is the part where I get quiet and look at. No, he's in Band of Brothers. Okay, he plays Buck. Lindy Buck Compton.
Huh.
Anyways. Yeah, so that was the cinematographer for Speed. I don't know, you remember any like trivia about this movie that like or like fun kind of mythologies about this movie that either proven to be true or proven to be untrue?
Just the stuff you said earlier.
Okay.
About how it was they said, oh, it was saved by editing.
Yeah.
When actually, no, it was like before they even shot the first frame of film, they went through the script.
Yeah.
Which is how you do it. And I remember there was something about this was based on a Kurosawa film, but it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It was based on there was a film, I think in a Japanese movie called Bullet Train.
Okay, yeah.
And the bomb on the train, and the train couldn't stop.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't know anything about that. And I also know that Graham Yost was doing an interview about this, and he said he watched a movie I like called Runaway Train with John Voight. Yeah. It's a really grim movie from the 80s about two convicts that steal a train and just die horribly at the, or well, they don't die horribly, but they do. One of them dies. Which like he always, so he thought the idea of runaway machinery was a cool idea. It's like something that couldn't stop no matter how much, what would it be like if you couldn't use the brakes?
Yeah.
They picked the bus because buses don't move on tracks. They're infinitely maneuverable as long as you have enough road in front of them. But yeah, I remember someone said like, "Oh, this is based on a Kurosawa movie, just like Star Wars," and it's like, huh? No, it was on another movie, but
yeah, if you want to, you can play 6 Degrees of Separation of Kurosawa because you can always.
well, yeah, because that's a Japanese filmmaker everyone talks about.
Yeah.
So then everything becomes Kurosawa. Just like, how does that work? Like everyone knows Kevin Bacon or something. Isn't that what that is?
Yeah, 6 Degrees of Separation. Like you can find, you take any person in the move, and within 6 moves, you can find how they're connected to Kevin Bacon.
Oh, okay. Yeah. 6 Degrees of Kurosawa gives gravity to our films.
Yeah, we even went back and watched all the Kurosawa movies because that's always what I knew Kurosawa for. Is like this is where like Spielberg and Lucas stole everything from, and then you watch them and like, oh, they're great movies, especially for being like that old and black and white. But it's not
in another language from another culture, and it
yeah.
actually you understand what's going on. It's like, oh, this is cool, but I don't see that this was a lift to like, oh, this is where Darth Vader came from. It's like, no. I mean, it's everyone ripped off Shakespeare that works in the English language, so that's you don't need to go much further than that.
But I mean, there's definitely some cinematographer stuff that's like, oh yeah, they took cues from that, and there's definitely structure they took from him. But like, I don't know, like I'm pretty sure if you went even further back to like films in like the 30s and the 20s, you could find the same structure somewhere if you're looking for it. So.
Oh no, I mean I took all those film studies classes and read all those books that you had to read for those classes, and it explains why Kurosawa is like one of the best film directors. Like if just structuring a movie and everything,
Yeah,
he's doing like stuff that like to European and Western audiences would. I mean, there's almost, except for Godzilla, there's almost nothing else that's really translated from over there very well. But his stuff immediately, like even in a foreign language set in medieval Japan, you're right in.
Yeah, well, I guess because
what he's doing.
I guess because they're action heavy, they translate more, which is like universal. So.
And also the way they're filmed, it constantly draws the eye.
Yeah.
Because there's always stuff foreground, midground, background. He always had stuff moving around, which is a real nightmare to choreograph, by the way. That's not easy to make all the gears move and record it.
Yeah.
And get synchronized up. So yeah, there's you can read a lot of cool books about Kurosawa that'll tell you why he's good. That's why everything becomes him.
Yeah.
It's like it all goes back to Jesus film director. And it's like, no, it's not that, but it is cool.
So we have Act 1. We got the camera's going down an elevator shaft, but kind of like not pointing down, just pointing sideways, and then we get credits going down the elevator shaft, which is actually like a really long credit sequence. It's like, what are we doing? This is like the get your popcorn. Like, we're not going to start the movie just yet.
Take a leak, get some popcorn. What are some other things you only eat at the theater? Like the
Raisinets, dots.
Raisinets, the dots, this bad chocolate. Pay $7 for a candy bar. Or get a hot dog and go for the full $15 affair.
I always find, nachos at movie theaters are usually surprisingly good. They're like the right kind of garbage nachos where it's just like...
Yeah.
It's like tortilla chips that seem to have like overly salted, and they're like almost too crunchy that they're almost like dust, and then you just have like just warm cheese that's like barely flavored, but somehow it just works.
Yeah. It's pseudo cheese, but you like it.
As long as it's warm, man. That's all the
right mix of oil in it to make
then the score picks up just going down the elevator shaft with credits, and it's like the dun 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 dun. Which like caught me off guard at first, because what I associate that little like sting with is they do it a lot in the Metal Gear Solid franchise.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh wait, he took that from here, because Hideo Kojima loves to steal things from action movies. He's kind of like the Quentin Tarantino of like video games, where he'll just like take he'll take great things from bad movies and then well, I guess this isn't really a bad movie, but like and then kind of recontextualize it.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it wasn't done. It was a fun thing in a movie that maybe not get the recognition it deserved or it didn't deserve, but it was like they did one thing right, and then everybody dismissed it. So then he just stole that one good thing, and then nobody calls him a thief because he made it better. So because that's the thing, it's like like Quentin Tarantino is never like the most original guy in the world. He's just stealing from content that you don't know,
Yeah.
or you didn't appreciate. Like he's
Yeah, he's making it cool. This is why you should have liked
it. You were wrong. um, we get to like the bottom of the shaft, and there's like some guy walks in the door into like this kind of like the mechanical room of this elevator shaft, which I've never been in. I know, yeah. I don't know if this is how these look. I've never been into one before, so I don't know. So, as far as I know, they got everything right here. So.
This seems reasonable to me. It would
Uh,
only be weird if there was like a giant buzzsaw spinning around. Or something. I don't think that's in those mechanical rooms. But.
Well, I remember also like around this area, the Mission Impossible movie also had the elevator stuff in the very like opening of the movie. And I was like, did that come up before this? This actually came. This came before Mission Impossible, and so there's like two like repelling things and elevator stuff that I was like, I wonder if they just took that from this movie. So, but also Die Hard has a ton of elevator stuff too. So
Yeah.
So yeah, guards like kind of looking around this basement level of the elevator maintenance like shaft or whatever, and a guard questions Dennis Hopper. His name's Howard Payne. We don't find that out till like the end of the movie, but I'm just gonna call him Howard for the rest of this. Then he holds up some work orders, and we see he's like missing a thumb, and they just like, here's my work orders, and he stabs the guy in the side of the head with like a screwdriver or an ice pick or whatever. Whatever's worse. I think it's harder to get a screwdriver through someone's head, but he hits him through the ear, so I don't know, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, he's the bad guy then. So, then we cut to there's like a business meeting that's getting let out, and like they go into the elevator. I took note of Patrick Fischler here. He's like he's Bob, the guy who hits the button. He's like a huge character actor. You've seen him in something. He always plays some kind of weirdo, like a rich weirdo, or just a weird weirdo, or he's just always a weirdo. So yeah, it's interesting to see him here being super young, even though he basically looks almost the same.
Yeah, hasn't changed a lot.
He's a small guy. Small guys don't really seem to they seem to age different. Then we cut to the top of the elevator, and we see some wires get blown up by Howard, and the elevator like starts to like fall, but then the emergency brakes kick in. Then we cut to outside where like emergency services show up. Jack Traven, played by Keanu Reeves, and Harry, played by Jeff Daniels, fly their car into the scene. Like they just jump this hill, and then they cut to like the opposite angle, and like the car just like falls into the frame of the camera. It's completely ridiculous. It's like, well, that car's broken, but it looks cool, so who cares? Yeah, because they like flying a Taurus around there?
I think that's what it is. Yeah, or maybe a Caprice. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I tried the car database website I use is not working right now.
Oh, okay.
So I just have the bus pulled up. I was able to get that from somewhere else.
Yeah, I only have one other car. Well, I guess there's two other cars I'd be curious about, but we'll get to them. They gear up and head in. They grab some MP5s and other tactical gear. Then we have Captain McMahon, played by Joe Morton, who I most know as Miles Dyson from Terminator 2, but he's been in a bunch of stuff. And I can't remember the last movie we saw him in. We've seen him in a movie. I think he was in. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of another guy. It's a bomb ransom, so the bombers have told them that they're going to. And this is like a good thing where it's like they don't go through the whole negotiation process. They just show up. They've already talked to the bomber. There's a ransom. Let's keep going. So they keep the movie moving. The bomber wants money, or he's gonna blow the emergency brakes on the elevator. Jack and Harry like run up the stairs. There's also a little joke here where like Jack like volunteers Harry to go look at the elevator, and then Max sends both of them up there as like kind of like punishment. But then like they also are like the ones in danger. So this is where it feels like, oh yeah, this is Joss Whedon wrote this section because there's like everyone's very flippant towards like death, whereas
Yeah.
like the middle section, which is mostly Graham Yost, like death is very apparent and people are more like stoic about situations. um. So yeah, they're going around. They're like open up access panels in the wall, which like I don't know if that's this how it works, but it's interesting to see a cop have like, you know, like in this situation they're using their guns less and they're using like screwdrivers and like multi tools more than they're using anything else. So, um, I mean like as they're kind of going through the elevator shaft and access panels, we cut to like Howard hears them from like another elevator, but we don't know like where he is in relation to them. They get on top of the elevator that has the bombs. They look at the bombs. Harry says like they're solid, so it's like, you know, that they're rigged in some way. That they you know they can't mess with them, because that's always the thing with bombs in movies is that like every bomb like has a special thing where it's like, no, that's a trap. If you cut this wire, that'll actually like activate the bomb and stuff like that. Like, you know, they put misdirections in the bombs because that's always a fun thing. And I don't know how far back that goes, but it seems like it's ever since Hollywood has existed, that's been a thing in Hollywood. Because I think like my earliest thing I remember something like that was like an episode of MacGyver, where it was like there were a really complicated bomb where they had to get like a vacuum tube and like, you know, they had to pick up like sand that was in the bomb that was like a counter lever to something and stuff like that. I don't know if you remember that episode of MacGyver. Um,
Sounds vaguely familiar.
yeah, there was like a bomb on a cruise liner, and one bomb expert had tried to work on it, and then it blew up. But then like MacGyver got to it, and he was like, he was basically doing the exact same thing that the previous guy did, but then he like thought twice about it. It's like, no, that's what blew up the other guy, and then he like had to rethink everything, and you know had to get some gum and a vacuum cleaner. um, but I also read that like that book or that short story, like what 10,000 pounds or 1,000 pounds of dynamite, and you know that was a real thing, and that was like a complex bomb that really blew up when they tried to disarm it with C4, and it just blew up a casino.
A good idea.
Yeah, yeah, nice try. You know, there's a lot of post-Vietnam 70s thinking going on there.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Explosions, death, violence, nothing abnormal.
C4 can solve anything. And then here's where we get like the Harry ass like pop quiz. You're in a hostage situation, like, you know, they're taking the hostage somewhere, and then like he asks him like, what do you do? And he's like, shoot the hostage. And this is all Joss Whedon dialogue. So because of course that line, like, you know, pop quiz hot shot is, you know, kind of carries through in pop culture, and of course, you know, it's a Joss Whedon line. So Jack thinks Howard is going to blow the elevator regardless. And this is also where you get like the dynamic of Jack and Harry is that like Harry's kind of a nerd who knows a lot of things, and Jack's just purely a, you know, by his gut thinker. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't have any reason or evidence to support anything he does. He just has a feeling and he goes with it. Which is what makes like this movie both dumb and exciting, because there's no time to really plan anything. So it's like, I guess you want Jack in those situations because he's going to do something at least. um. So yeah, they go to the roof and they find a crane hoist to hook the elevator to. So in case like he blows the brakes, that'll like hold the elevator. Um. And then they have Harry repels Jack down to the shaft to hook the elevator up to the hoist. Which this is a scene that looks very like, oh, this is like before Mission Impossible does this. Yeah, makes a big thing out of it. The kind of repelling face forward down stuff, and kind
Oh yeah, that did. Yeah, that did. This does predate that. Huh.
um. And that's where we get this is also just kind of like set up stuff for like later on, because he says like, Jack says like, why'd I take this job, Harry? And he's like, 30 more years of this and you'll get a cheap gold watch. And he's like, cool. um, then Howard hears them messing around with the elevator, and then he blows the brakes. The crane holds the elevator, but it's like starting to snap. A lady falls through the floor because, like, I guess one of the explosives blew a hole in the floor, and so she kind of falls through. The crane breaks free, but then like it keeps getting wedged in stuff as it like starts to make its way to the elevator shaft, which is good tension, I guess.
Yeah.
And then like they start pulling people out of the elevator, but like, you know, it starts out like there's barely like maybe like a foot of elevator that's sticking through the door, and they're like pulling people down through it, and then like it just keeps popping down to the point that's like now the foot of half of clearance is like at the bottom that they have to pull a lady up through, but she's too scared to move. But yeah, eventually, they get her, they pull her out. I like the one guy who's like a total asshole, like the guy who makes fun of Bob, because like, Jesus, Bob, what button did you push? And then like this guy, he's like, come on, lady, we're all gonna die. You gotta get out of here. He's like, screw you. So like, he's not completely selfish, but even though he's like the biggest asshole of the whole group, so he tried.
Yeah.
He tried to help the lady. I forget. I can't even remember what like Jack says to her to get her to go, but eventually like she goes, and so they pull her up out of the elevator as it falls down. And you have like the other cops like and Mac are on like the ground floor as like the elevator like hits the ground, and like you see like the elevator doors kind of like collapse outwards, and they're like Jesus. It's like, I hope nobody was in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a very, very destructive. Like, did we just damage the structure of this facility?
I don't know. But yeah, that's a good thing. It's like an elevator accident always seems like a nightmare.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially if you're in the elevator.
Yeah, and like there's like, you know, you can't see anything on the outside world. You don't know what's going on, and all of a sudden there'll be a stop. Although as far as I know with modern elevators, like even in this movie, it's like, you know, you have to take like a lot of C4 and blowing up a lot of safety devices to get an elevator to actually like fall. So it's not really a concern you should have. So
Yeah, it's a nightmare to imagine it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of redundant, because they basically have brakes like a car.
yeah,
Those rails. It's just because if it starts freewheeling too fast, something, I forget how that works, but the brakes engage.
yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of interesting.
And I think I'm not sure if he wrote it or he produced it, but M. Night Shyamalan made a movie that was basically like, what if this scene, but a whole movie, and it's a horror movie. I think it was called Devil.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good one.
Okay. I never saw it because it looked stupid, and I just like, M. Night Shyamalan's so hit or miss, I just decided to like, nah, it's probably a miss. Never mind. Then we got to Harry and Jack kind of take stock of and assess the situation, where it's like, this can't just be it. Like this. So Jack's gut says that Howard is still in the building, and so they suspect he's in a freight elevator, and so they go find one. They rappel down the elevator cables and try to be stealthy about it, but then shotgun blasts start going off, which, how they don't show Howard having hearing protection, but he should, because otherwise he'd be completely deaf after doing that.
He gave himself a concussion. He's also firing I don't know if it's a sawn-off shotgun, but it's a pistol grip shotgun, and he doesn't have a thumb on one hand.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he's doing that.
Low recoil rounds or something.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I never bought those. I always use the full power ones.
Um, but yeah, I remember like the trivia with from Terminator 2 is that like Linda Hamilton like lost hearing in one of her ears because she didn't have hearing protection in when they were doing the elevator scenes with the shotgun blast, and it went off in there. Just now she's like deaf in one ear from that.
I can believe that.
um, let's see. So yeah, Howard like falls to the ceiling as like holes like break up the structure in the ceiling of the elevator, and then he falls down and kind of gets taken hostage. And then Howard takes the elevator to the top to like force Jack to jump down the elevator so he doesn't get crushed by the elevator. Although in Die Hard, he just kind of like gets flat. So I don't know actually how it works in elevators, if there's enough room at the top to not get crushed, or if you would get crushed. But I guess in this instance, it doesn't really matter. But that's
Yeah.
everybody's fear. That's why they took it one step further in Mission Impossible, where it's like Emilio Estevez is he gonna get crushed? And then there's just like magical spikes that come down to like kill him definitely.
I'm pretty sure that's not standard elevator operating stuff.
Yeah, I remember like that scene's like so it's like it's only like a half a shot, but it's like so grisly and out of nowhere because like at that time Emilio Estevez was kind of like he's a leading man, and you're just
Right.
killing him in like the first 10 minutes of this movie. They should really just have him come back in one of the new Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, if I think in the Fast and Furious franchise, I think they've literally killed off 4 characters and they've all coming back. They've all come back to life.
Huh. Okay.
And then the one guy who died in real life, they just he's still alive in the movie franchise. They just said like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna leave him alone so he can have a family." um. So yeah, Jack has to jump down the elevators and not like get crushed. Here we got Howard demonstrating that he knows police procedure, like where they're going to be raiding, or where they're going to be waiting when he like takes the elevator down, and he's got some weird device that will spoof where the elevator is. So like he makes the elevator say that it's going to the 3rd floor when they're actually going to like the ground floor, and so like the cops all wait at the 3rd floor, and then they get off on the 1st floor where nobody's there. Howard runs out of ammo because like he puts the shotgun to Jack's face and pulls the trigger, but then it goes off, and then like Jack starts to fight him. It's like, oh, you piece of shit, and like you're gonna fire an empty shotgun at my head. But then Howard reveals that he's got like a bomb vest on, so then they can't do anything at the moment. He's got like a dead man's trigger, so he's holding onto a thing, and then he takes Harry hostage, and they're like backing out of the door.
Does he put pliers in his nose to like pull him around?
Maybe I think he just hooks his nose.
Oh, okay. I thought he had pliers. Okay.
Because I can't remember if it's like with his thumbless hand or so just like looked extra weird. But yeah, pliers would be. I know pliers are used. I think are in the scene because I think when they open up the elevator shaft, I think he uses some, Leatherman pliers to pop the door open. So,
so many Leatherman. I usually don't quit using them until the blades break off of them.
Yeah.
So you can replace them, but I just get new ones.
Yeah.
Because usually I like the ones I have all the coatings worn off of them. So.
Yeah, I had one. It's like I sweat so much they started to get rusty, and I was like, "God damn."
I want to get the new one. They say it's the best one since the Super Tool Deluxe. It's called the Leatherman Arc.
Yeah.
But it's like outrageously expensive.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna have to wait on that one. I think it's like $200.
I can't use Leathermans anymore at work, so.
Oh, did they ban them?
Yeah, because you can't have anything that has a fixed blade on it.
Oh, why?
Because there's just too many studies of injuries that happen purely because there's a fixed blade.
Oh, okay.
Because like we can have a box cutter, but it has to be a box cutter that self-retracting.
Yeah.
I go one step further. I got a German one that's like not only is it self-retracting, but like it'll retract itself as you finish a cut. So even if you're holding on to the thing, it'll retract after you cut. Like, so once you put pressure one way, if the pressure goes the opposite way at all, that triggers it to pull it back in. So,
Yeah, I've seen those box cutter. I know a guy had to get 36 stitches from a box cutter. I was like, what did you, because I saw him right after it happened. Like he had his arm, it went from here to here. I was like, what, at what point did you just think stop? It's like, because as soon as I feel that, it's like I'm stopping.
yeah.
Said he was, somehow he was cutting. This is back when we used to get everything in cardboard boxes. You don't see that much anymore. Now everything comes in a returnable. But yeah, he was like cutting towards himself, like but with his arm extended.
Huh.
And yeah, he was off work a month. They had to do inside and outside stitches and all this stuff. And it was like, yeah, okay. I just used to kick them. I just kicked the boxes and like rip them apart, and throw them in the, because it took I didn't have enough time. It's like, I'm not cutting these boxes. I'm kicking them, ripping them apart, and throwing them in the bin, because all they care is they're not like a box form, so they can crush it down further. And then like 2 years after that, they're like, if you send us cardboard boxes, we'll send them back and charge you the freight. So everyone went to reusable containers because that actually makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
It's just the company's like, oh, it costs a lot to ship empties. It's like, well, we're gonna charge you for shipping cardboard boxes back to you too, because we get hacked by the government by the ton for how much cardboard waste we're putting into the landfills. So.
But then we have Howard taking Harry away with like being a hostage, and this is where Harry like says shoot the hostage, and then Jack thinks about it, and then he shoots him, and then because now he's like dead weight, and so like he drops out of Howard's hands, and then Harry gets mad. He's like, "You shot me," and then we get the funny like shrug with the gun.
Yeah.
Again,
shot me, prick.
Yeah. Again, this definitely feels like it was Joss Whedon written, because this is kind of like the most flippant everybody gets, because like the middle of the movie is like much more serious and considered than just like, we shot a cop just to try the scenario. Like, who cares? Which is also interesting because I think it's like how Keanu Reeves wanted to play this cop to be like he. I think it's literally the only time he shoots his gun in the movie, to shoot another cop.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, huh?
Yeah, I believe you're right. I don't think he uses weapons. I mean, he has them, but he doesn't use them anymore in the movie.
Yeah, because he had that one situation where like there's a guy with a gun, and he like puts his gun away to deflate the situation. And it's like, oh yeah, it's not usually how like action movies play cops. It's like, no, how good of a shot is he? It's like, no, it's not what he's doing. It's like he doesn't even
fire a gun off in a bus with people in front of and behind this guy and hit him.
So yeah, it's much more considered. Actually like a good representation of a police officer in this movie, because we don't really get that in real life, or we just never witness it. It never makes the TV news when the cops do something right. So
I've seen a few videos. I've seen guys there with a knife, and the cop just takes his belt off, and he's like sits down on the ground. He's like, "Let's just talk."
Yeah.
And of course, the other guys are like, "Move, move, move!" He's just waving at him like, "Stop it!"
Yeah.
I'm just going to talk to this guy. I mean, literally. So as soon as you sit down on the ground and you don't have anything near you, like, yeah, people will immediately stop, unless the jackass behind you is like, "No, I want to shoot him, Bob. I need to kill someone." It's like, would you sit down?
Yeah, but we see one of those videos, and we'll see 5 of like the Acorn guy, who like an Acorn drops in the car, and he starts unloading his pistol. What's that?
I thought that was a joke. I was
Yeah.
like, did somebody film this like a joke? Like, is this real? Like, is he shooting blanks? Is this like a video of what you don't do?
Yeah.
Nope, that's absolutely. There was no like dummy in that police car that he just shot full of holes. But I don't know anything. Like I said, that's a job where it's like, I would never. Hey, you want this job? Nope. No, sir. Not dealing with this
Do you
crap.
want to deal with the worst of the public that nobody else wants to deal with?
Yeah, no, I don't want to deal with everyone I deal with is at their worst.
And then you want to do it with the least amount of training we'll pay for?
Yeah. Here's a gun. Do you get scared easy? Well, work on that. If you get startled, if you're like a frightened horse with a Glock, it's not going to work out for you. Oh, by the way, if you have to shoot someone, we're not going to support you at all, even if it's totally legitimate. We're going to, generally not support you.
So then
Support you too much. We'll like make it up, even though there's clear.
Oh yeah,
video.
or you'll get people like starting to start like all the people that are supposed to like be accountable, and then everybody's like, well, we better stand behind our brothers. This could be us. You'd be like, oh, you're also making a mistake that's getting covered up. Awesome, that's great. Glad you.
There was one that happened here, like right down this. I mean, it's literally a couple miles from here. Now, from angle one, and these were all police cam videos, it looked like this guy was just using this woman as a speed bag. Like the cop was just beating this woman savagely. That was angle one. And the sheriff of the county did like a news conference, and he's like, but here's angle two. And you could see he was trying to restrain her, and she bit him through the skin in 5 different places. And finally, he pushed her back and just started going like this because she would not stop biting him. But they were literally ready to burn the city down until he showed this is angle two.
Yeah.
Angle one just looks like he pushed her back and just, like I said, was using her like a speed bag. Did not look good. Angle two, it's like, oh, that guy showed actually a lot of restraint because he got bit through the skin 5 times. Oh, and by the way, she'd assaulted cops like this 2 other times. One guy she bit in the neck, and the other guy she bit in the face. And she's like still out walking around.
Yeah.
Like that's like deadly, like an attack on somebody, because those wounds 100% getting infected.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. So I've seen that firsthand. It's like, well, thank God there were other camera angles. It literally looked like this guy is just, and this was some guy straight off a battlefield, looked like it, had the giant arms and stuff. It's like, oh, he just waylaid that woman. It's like, no, actually he didn't. It's like, huh. And as soon as the sheriff did that thing, immediately all the tension diffused. Everyone's like, yep, you're right. Okay. Next. So, yeah. But yeah, that's a terrible job. I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
But yeah, we have Howard backing out now that he's lost his hostages and kind of his leverage. He backs out through the door laughing like and then Harry gives chase, and like as the door closes, then the explosion pushes through and throws Jack all the way back to the door. Well, the great, like, they just put a line on a stunt man and pulled him to a door.
Yeah. In real life, this guy would be paralyzed from the weight.
Shrapnel would fly through him.
Yeah. The speed of sound.
So yeah, and presumably, Howard's dead, but like we don't get any confirmation, but it's like, everyone's talking about, it's like, yeah, everything's fine.
I'd definitely say this was a shaped charge that Howard used that projected all the blast in one direction.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it probably wasn't even.
It turns out, spoilers, Howard's not dead.
Yeah,
because it'd be
but
weird.
We find out almost like 2 minutes later, so it's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's ways you could justify, like, well, how did he survive? And it's like, was the vest a shaped charge itself, or was there just a shaped charge outside that door? And I don't know. But also, like, I have no idea, because between this and like when the bus happens, it's like I have absolutely no idea how much time has passed, because it seems like this is the next day or this is like a year later. I have no idea. Because what if it's the next day? Then that means that this was all part of Howard's plan in the first place. Like, he's gonna get his money through this job or through the bus job, but it's all ready to go. So
yeah, he seems to be like plans within plans with this guy.
But yeah, I think like in the 90s you kind of accepted that, but I think if you do that now, it's like you have to like you have to get so technically accurate with this stuff, or else an audience just wouldn't buy it. It's like, well, this guy's basically God. What can't he do? And it's like, well, in the third act of the movie, the plot armor comes off, and then he'll die.
Yeah.
So yeah, we cut to an award ceremony where they get awarded for their actions of stopping. Well, yeah, nobody dies except for the bomber, and then they saved everybody, and so they're like getting awarded for their bravery. Um, Harry's got like a cane to walk and get his award, and then we immediately cut to like the camera's like watching the TV, and then there's some clapping, and then we turn the camera, and Howard's still alive. He's like, "Good job, Jack." Yeah. Which again, I don't know how long this has been. Like I'm assuming this is either a couple days later or like the next week. I have no idea. So
Seemed like a couple days.
yeah,
there were still some fresh scars. So
the team celebrates at the bar, but Harry, he's like drinking. And he shares how like that like Jack's luck is gonna run out and he's gonna get people killed. So it's like a very just somber moment. Which I guess, because this is one of those things where it's like, this is where you could, like, the rumor of this being, like, fixed in post-production rather than in the script writing process, you could buy this. It's like, this is the moment you could see, like, oh, maybe if Harry was the villain in the first production shoot, you could see that here. But, of course, that's not what actually happened. But, and then we cut to a bus driver goes to grab a coffee. He says hi to Jack. They know each other. As Jack leaves with his copy to go to his Bronco, which I wanted to ask about this Bronco. Is this any kind of special Bronco going on here? That like, this seems like a quirky Bronco for a character. I'm not sure if this was like a '90s thing we're gonna fix up. Because I mean, is this like a '70s Bronco going on here?
let me look. Let me see if my website's working now. Because there was one I wanted to. Because there's a lot of cool facts about those buses. Because those buses were extremely old.
Okay.
I believe this was a. Oh, let's see if it's going to work. Huh. Doesn't look like it's going to work. Oh, wait a minute. Holy shit. Yeah, here it is. Let's see. So lots of Ford Tauruses credited in this movie. Come on, where's the hero car? See, normally I'd have this all pulled up.
Yeah.
But, God forbid anything work. I mean, actually, it's cool. There's a guy that maintains a website that just names every car in every movie.
1974 Bronco.
Okay. That would be very old.
Yeah, because I'm used to like Broncos being kind of bigger, but this seemed like a smaller one.
Yeah, I think this was the 60s era's Bronco.
Okay.
This was kind of that style because I forget. There's a body designation for it and everything. But yeah, the Broncos most people are familiar with now are like the OJ Broncos, the full-size Broncos. Now we've got back to the smaller Broncos again. You can buy them.
Well, there's that middle period of the Bronco 2, which was like the smaller Bronco.
Ranger Bronco, yeah. Well, the full-size Bronco was still built on a Ranger chassis, but it's new Ranger, so yes, that would have been the last of that. I think that's called the C-body.
Okay.
Bronco or whatever.
But it even seems like for this movie, it seemed like a quirky vehicle that maybe the character had like refurbished.
Oh, it definitely was refurbished. Those were notorious rust buckets.
Oh yeah.
Not in California, they wouldn't be.
Yeah,
but
I guess
in the Midwest, they didn't make it.
I know there's a famous like I might it's probably still around. It was called like Dave's Bronco Graveyard, where this guy just basically bought all the Broncos in the world and has a junkyard out of them. And that's where you go to get Bronco parts to fix up your old Bronco.
So. There's a place in Arizona called it's called Edsel Acres. It's all the Edsels. Hey, I need a speedometer for a 1957 Edsel. I got one because the cars are perfectly preserved.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there's a whole subculture now on YouTube car restoration where they'll get those weird like crew cab trucks from the 70s that like the railroads used. They were the only people that had crew cabs. And so they'll get like a Dodge C600 Power Wagon or an F350 or whatever, and they've been sitting in the desert for 20 years, you know, and it's just, oh, we're gonna knock the loose paint off, and then we're gonna shoot clear coat over this patina,
Yeah.
and it's gonna look cool, and we're gonna put like a 400 horsepower blown engine in it or something, you know, something crazy, but it's gonna be this old, like, you know, I don't know, power wagon, quad cab of some kind, and so, but yeah, you don't find those where we live because those would just be a pile of rust. We can't even have, we have cars here from the 2000s that are just, I had to get rid of a car my son had essentially because the bottom was so rusted out of it. It's like, yeah, you can fix this, but we're just going to be bolting it into rust. I'm not doing this.
Don't you have a friend that builds like the only official Batmobiles that has like all the like speedometers in the world of that type or whatever?
It was, yeah, those were Edsel. That's where I heard about Edsel Acres.
Okay.
Was from. They don't use those anymore because I think they acquired them all. So now they have, but you can do aftermarket manufacturing so cheap now that like you can make the same speedometer because it's a speedometer that like it's like a speedometer, but the dial twirls like a wheel.
Yeah.
It's very unique. Like nobody else did it. I mean, the Edsels were very unique cars, and they did a lot of weird stuff that nobody was doing. But they also they were so innovative, they had quality problems. So, but yeah, that's where that came from. It's like, yeah, we need all the speedometers of this style, but now with 3D printing and just post manufacturing, you can do crazy stuff. And if people are willing to pay you $250,000 to build them a replica car, you can do a lot of nice stuff. It's like, yeah, we can just make this any way you want it.
So as Jack leaves with his coffee to go to his Bronco, the bus blows up in the background. And Jack runs to it, but Bob's dead, the bus driver. He just kind of like gets deflated. It's like, you kind of like, you see him give up as he chases the burning bus. It's like, well, I can't stop it. He's dead. So
he actually has a human reaction. It's like, yeah, I'm not rushing into fire.
But then there's a phone ringing nearby, and Jack answers it basically out of curiosity, but he kind of, you know, his gut's kicking in, so he kind of knows like this must be something.
Yeah, this isn't a coincidence.
This is an interesting movie because it kind of bridges a lot of stuff because this is how this works completely in Die Hard with a Vengeance. It's all like telephones, like, you know, booths and stuff like that because it's New York. Where here it's like it's a telephone here, but then later on they have a cell phone, which became a problem with a lot of action movies because because now that everybody has access to everything, it became a problem for screenwriters. So it's like, well, how do they like not know something when everybody just has a cell phone? So they just, you know, now they just have people lose their cell phone within the first 5 minutes of the movie.
And this was back in the day when a cell phone was just a communications device.
Yeah.
Nowadays, people are like, hold on, fact check. The internet, that's not true. You know, yeah, you could. It's very hard to tell a story. It's like, you got to write some kind of plot device in.
Yeah.
Like they're jamming cell signals.
Which, I mean, you can do that. You can get that stuff now.
Oh, yeah.
It's very illegal.
You buy it, but it says, hey, don't use this for anything illegal. Like RFID readers you can just buy.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but don't use this to commit crimes, but here you go. It's like, oh, it's a security nightmare.
So Jack answers the phone. Jack hears Howard's voice, and so he knows he's alive, and like he knows like, okay, this is another like bomb ransom situation. So Ares explains what's going on. The plot of now is like there's a bomb on a bus. Once it goes over 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed, and if it goes below 50 after that, then it blows up. He says no one gets off the bus, and he needs the money by 11 a.m. They give him the bus number 2525, and then he gives them like what corner the bus is at, and so then Jack just immediately runs off to go chase it down. So that's the end of Act 1.
We've actually crammed a lot into that first act.
Yeah. I'm not sure like how much of a because I'm not sure how much the elevator scene would be the first act or just kind of like the epilogue, but I don't know. That's how I positioned it.
Yeah, no, it works.
So we've Act Two. We got Annie, played by Sandra Bullock here, coming off of Demolition Man,
Yeah.
but it doesn't seem like people really remembered her for that role. It's only afterward they like, oh yeah, that's her there.
Yeah, the chick from Speed was in Demolition.
I think the only other movie I know of like before this was like Love Potion #9. Um,
Yeah.
I think she was in that because like that was on Comedy Central a bunch. And I don't think that was a successful movie. I'm just aware of it because they played it on Comedy Central all the time. So, but definitely where Sandra Bullock became a star. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah. She's definitely a yeah, she was definitely just launched her career. You know, and she's still like a great actress.
yeah.
I didn't realize until I was watching something when she was doing what was that space movie? I called it Sandra Bullock Must Die. Oh, Gravity.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that like her mom was from Germany and she's a German citizen also.
Oh, okay.
And she was doing promo for the film in Germany, just speaking German.
Okay.
I was like, that looks so weird to see the lady I know as Sandra Bullock just speaking German to these reporters. And then I looked it up. It's like, oh yeah, her mom's from there. She's also a citizen there. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. But I had no idea.
Where's Sandra Bullock from? I always have her associated with Texas.
Like Fairfax, Virginia.
Oh, okay.
I think she was born, and I think it's like her dad was from Texas, but her mom's German.
Okay.
So she has dual citizenship, and I don't know what
I didn't think you could I didn't think you or is that on the German side? I didn't think you could have dual citizenship if you're a U.S. citizen, but maybe Germany allows the citizenship. Not necessarily.
I don't know how that. The only thing I know from guys that have dual citizenship here is that if you're an American and you have American citizenship, no matter where you work, you pay American taxes. However, no other country in the world requires that. If you work in Germany, pay American taxes, or you give up your citizenship. One of the two. But wherever you work, you have to pay taxes. Like, why is that? How does that work? He's like, I don't know. From England, and he had U.S. UK citizen, but he was living in the U.S. So I was like, yeah, of course I'm paying American. Oh my God, he only kept his citizenship to go back there and visit.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the guys I've talked to about dual citizenship, I just like, yeah, they don't care as long as you pay American taxes.
Okay.
Even if you're working in a foreign country. Or then you get that weird deal where if you go to Dubai or Saudi Arabia and drive a truck, you don't pay any taxes. So I don't know how that works. But I've never done any of those things, so I could be full of crap.
Yeah.
But I know there's things about maintaining multiple citizenship.
Yeah.
But basically, the U.S. can require you at any time to renounce any citizenship if we have diplomatic problems with people.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of Russian people here who've had to renounce their citizenship, or you can leave the United States. Your choice. We don't. We're not the bad guys here. But yeah, you are not going to travel to Russia on your Russian passport and be an American citizen, and then they're going to kidnap you and throw you in a gulag, and then we have to spend millions of dollars to get you out. So don't go back there, renounce your citizenship, or go back there forever. And guess what? None of the guys I know are going back to Russia. I don't know why. They just don't love the Rodina. I'm not sure, but
so Annie's running after a bus. She's yelling for Sam, the bus driver, to stop. And of course he does, which that's probably something a bus driver never do, because everybody's for a movie with LA. These are the most friendly people in LA I've ever seen portrayed. Because as far as I know,
it almost makes it seem like, man, this would be a nice place to live. Everyone's nice.
Yeah, everyone.
They're all working together.
Yeah, they're all going to their job. They're hardworking people. You know, they can work together. Not everybody's in it for themselves and thinks they're a star and completely selfish, and you're just in their way.
I just think it'd be cool to be there in January when it's like 70 and there's like a warm wind off the ocean. It's like, that's the only. I wouldn't want to be there in July, August, June, September. So I remember Joe Rogan was talking once about taking his kids trick or treat, and it was like 99 degrees. It's like, we can't put these kids in costumes.
I mean, as far because I've been there during the summertime, and and that's why they shoot movies there, is because the weather's so consistent, like no matter the time of the year. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily like when it's summertime it's like 100 degrees there. I mean, it is in some spots, but in LA it's just kind of consistent where it's like, oh, it's 77 out like almost all the time of the year. So
I don't know. I've heard some guys do podcasts in their LA apartments, and it's like, oh, it's 105 outside. It's like,
okay.
what? But it depends on where you are and what's going on too. And
Well,
they're not
I
like
saw, I hear like the valley.
like either. They're like in the valley. So.
Yeah, see, the valley's like all different because like the geography of it like makes it hotter there. I can't remember why, but it does.
It's just a hole that traps heat.
Yeah. Because that's where they shoot all the porn too, and I guess that's where all the people that can't live in LA proper have to live. So, yeah.
Is that why they're always so sweaty in those scenes?
Yeah.
It's just so hot.
Yeah. Um. Well, you know, they got to have a good sound, so they can't run the air conditioners.
Yeah. Just banging it out in a warehouse in Sun Valley. Just, everyone's dehydrated, like frothing at the mouth like a horse. Is that a special effect? It's like, no, she's dying. Oh.
Then Annie sits down next to Alan Ruck, which I forget what his character's name is. He's like, he's Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which I remember him most for.
He was also the captain of the. He was also a Starfleet captain in Generations.
Oh,
the captain
of the Excelsior. Oh,
yeah.
Was the Enterprise B an Excelsior ship?
Yeah,
okay.
It was a modified Excelsior without the transwarp drive, and it had different bulges on it. Yeah, you got it. Uh-oh. Now the lights are changing color.
I tried to hit one button, I hit the other button too.
Oh.
So hopefully that sounds the same.
Yeah, that was basically the accelerator. It had the power bulge sides on it. I don't know what that was, but it's like those hoods where they put bulges on them to make the engines look like there's superchargers in there, and it's not. Supposedly, the Excelsior type Enterprise was the most powerful Enterprise until the Enterprise D.
Yeah.
So, because it served, I think, the longest.
Oh, okay. So
supposedly, that lore changes all the time.
So yeah, we got a television series just waiting to be made.
Yeah.
The Enterprise B.
They should. The movie era Star Trek is the coolest.
Yeah, Enterprise A.
That's like the most like workman like. Well, the '60s one's cool too, but yeah, the movie.
I don't know, like the thing that makes the '60s one look ridiculous is just the radar dish on the front of it, and then they get rid of it for the Enterprise A, and they make it this glowing, pulsating blue dot that works way better. So
yeah,
and then they make the warp pylons. They make them more like it's like a '50s like roadster or whatever. Or,
yeah, they have fins on them and grills and stuff. No, those are the coolest ships.
Yeah.
Because those are the ships you've seen take the most realistic damage, mainly because of the Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Those ships can they can tear each other apart. Like, that's cool. And then the Klingons, their warships are very cool. And they're all believable as like, yeah, these are cool vessels and you can work on them. Next Generation's cool, but it's almost like, oh, we're moving into etherical science.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, in the motion picture, you got to fix those ships. You're rebuilding the engine. You and a 400-pound Scotsman are going to work on that engine. So yeah, they should do just something from that era.
Yeah.
Those ships look the best, as you can tell from Picard, because they went back to that style of Enterprise.
Yeah.
Basically rebuilt the motion picture Enterprise with just more. It was a little more glowy. And they actually said it was because it was a more durable design, like they said it in the show. So it's like, huh, okay.
So we have Alan Ruck is like chatting up Annie, which here I thought it was like he's like hitting on her, and I thought he was more like some sort of like LA douchebag, but actually he's like just some Midwest guy touring around, and he doesn't have any friends, and so he's like, hey, a pretty lady, I want to talk to her.
Yeah.
And then she gets annoyed and pretends that there's gum on the seat and then moves. Which I don't know if he got the clue or not. Or he's like, oh no, the pretty lady's gone. And then she moves next to the Sparkle Motion lady from Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
Which she mentions that I think it's Helen is her character's name. I think she mentions that she hates driving the freeway and that's why she rides the bus, which I guess would be interesting. Because yeah, you
Yeah.
always hear about LA traffic, and that seems like, oh yeah, that'll make you lose all faith in cars and transportation and everything like that. So, um, and then we also learn that Annie lost her license or car or both. I mean, it's just you lost her license. We'll find out later on, but here it's more of a mystery because she
Yeah.
just says like, "I love my car. I miss my car." There's a traffic jam. Jack tries running. Jack gets like close to the bus, but then there's like a traffic jam, and so he gets out on foot to try to chase the bus down. And then they of course ignore him. But it's a good one. Like when he runs up, he like hits the window and it breaks, which wasn't supposed to happen, and they kept in the movie.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so yeah, if you want to follow the continuity on that, there will be like scenes where like that the window's fixed and sometimes it's broken because at different points they kept it as continuity. But yeah, just look it looked good because it's like, oh yeah, no, he's serious. The window broke.
Well, I know for bus trivia, they had like, oh, how many? I think they had 11 different buses like this.
Yeah.
But and there were two different models, but they were basically they looked like 1950s buses kind of, but they were made after that. They were just designed to have those classic lines, but two of them were cut completely apart so they could film inside.
Oh, okay.
So they basically had platforms all around them, and it just had like the roof of the bus and then maybe some sides in the back. And then some of them were just used for drivers, and some of them were one of them was specifically made for the some of the stunt scenes. But yeah, a lot of them they sold back. They just like, yeah, we didn't mess them up too bad. You can have them back.
Okay. That's kind of what they did in Backdraft, where they like got those fire trucks and then gave them to the Chicago Fire Department.
Yeah, yeah, they don't destroy them. Some of them they just use for different. I mean, two of them they wasted for, uh, just
On the
to cut
jump
them open.
stunt, they like rolled one of them, so I'm not sure if that got completely wasted or not.
No, that was destroyed.
Okay.
Yeah, that one was destroyed. It was a very dangerous stunt too. I like how they because the biggest problem with that is, well, there's a few things. The bus could structurally fail.
Yeah.
In real life, the bus would structurally fail
Yeah.
because it's not designed to. It doesn't have a lot of flex to that whole body.
Yeah.
It's just be on the ground. But I guess you have to the driver has to hang in the air in a harness. The biggest danger in jumping a car, besides the axles just exploding, is compressing your spine, which can compress up to an inch for every foot you go into the air. Which I know there's a ratio. It's like, this is crazy. So you basically have to have the driver hanging in the air when it lands. The harness.
They got to be in their own suspension system.
Yeah, they have to have their own shock system because that's what hurts you the most. Jumping cars is, because it's just so much force. Cool, because cars weigh tons and buses weigh even more. And also the bus, the engine is in the back, and you're steering, but when you're driving a car, your wheels are about, you got a long gearbox, steering box. They're out in front of you like 3 or 4 feet. Those buses, you're right over the steering box. So when you're steering the bus, it's like the wheels are right here next to you.
Yeah.
And they do that so you can take corners and stuff with them. But yeah, you got to know what you're doing because it's pretty wild. So, and those things are not notoriously maneuverable either. Definitely high speed. They're meant to carry a lot of weight. They usually have 6 or 8 cylinder diesels with turbochargers on them. They don't accelerate very fast. I'm not even sure I don't know if they have Super 8 transmissions or how they do that. But I always want to see the buses in San Francisco. Like, how many gears do those things have? Down those hills. They must have like 16 running gears, multiple ranges.
Yeah,
or
they don't take the hills. I don't know.
Or they don't take the hills, yeah. Because, man, you'd shift like 18 times going up one of those hills.
Oh, do the cable cars run up the hills? Oh, gosh.
I don't know. I've never been there. It's too expensive.
And here, because now Jack doesn't have his car anymore, he goes and commandeers a Jaguar from Glenn Plummer, who we last saw in Strange Days. He was Jericho 1. You'll
Yeah.
see him. You'll know him. He's great in this. He has like 5 lines, and all of them are fantastic. It says Toon Man on the license, so I'm guessing he's like, because especially this is the '90s, so being like a music producer is like a that's a cushy gig, and you'll get a lot of
Oh
attention
yeah.
for that. Um, so yeah, he takes a Jaguar. They're chasing the bus down. The bus goes over 50, and so the bomb activates. Jack is trying to yell to the driver that there's a bomb on the bus, but they just think he's a crazy guy. They're like, everybody's on the bus like, that guy's back. What's wrong with him?
That's an $80,000 Jaguar. Should have broke down already.
Jack gets the Toon Man to get a bomb note to the driver. He's like trying to hold it up, and it flies out. He trips and it flies right into the window. It says "bomb on bus," which then Sam starts to like let his foot off the gas, and then he's like, then Jack pulls over to like the side where the door is, like, open the door. So like, keep it above 50, above 50. He's like, oh, okay. um. Yeah, this guy also has a cell phone, so he takes a cell phone and he's talking to Harry, and he's telling him like, yeah, he's still alive. And then he tells the Toon Man, he's like, I got to get on that bus. And he's like, yeah, you get on that bus, because like, yeah, I want my car back. This is crazy. I think I'm now forgetting all his lines. He has everything. He has great lines for this really short part. He makes the most of it. He's like this. Because I always remember this guy from this movie, and it's a character without a name. um, so yeah, like Jack opens up the door and then puts on the brakes to knock the door off with the bus, which is fun. And then he jumps over to the bus. And then the Toon Man has to take the car back, but then he kind of loses control. But then he hits like one of those water barrels that like at an exit, so people don't just like split their car in half and hit that guardrail that's like at a point, goes to a point. So
this V of steel reinforced concrete.
But he seems to be fine for a guy who rammed into a barrier with no seatbelt on, so he's good.
The uncompressible water broke the impact.
But yeah, there's also like little moments, because there's like this guy who's like, he seems to be like sketchy and hiding something. So he thinks like because when he shows his badge, now they know he's a cop. So he's like so this guy thinks that like Jack's trying to get on the bus to get him. And so like when he gets on the bus, he's trying to calm people down, but then this guy pulls a gun on Jack, and then Jack has a gun, and then he's like, oh, he's going to defuse the situation. He's not going to escalate it, because like that's not. It's like, hey, we're all going to die, so I need to get past this point. So I'm not just going to shoot this guy. So he puts his gun down. He says, I'm not a cop right now. It's like, I don't care what you did, like whatever it is, I'm sure you're sorry. And then Ortiz,
I like that. Yeah.
Ortiz, the like construction worker guy, which I remember like Janine Garofalo had a fun joke about this movie where it said like basically they had all stereotypes on this bus, like so like I'm pretty sure they had like a what are those people from like an Inuit with a spear in the back of the bus.
Steel hunter.
Yeah. And this guy like tackles the Ortiz tackles this guy, and then like the gun goes off, and then Jack jumps in, and then they disarm the guy, and then he cuffs him, and then but then Sam got hit, so he's trying to like hold it together. So then Annie runs up and like kind of takes over the bus. And then she wants to stop the bus, but this where Jack just has to like explain out loud, there's a bomb in the bus. We're all gonna die. Like it's gonna blow up if you don't keep the bus above 50. Because she's like, hey, this guy got shot. Let's stop and get some help. And he's like has to explain like, no, we can't do that at all. And there's also where like so she starts driving the bus, and we also get the fun explanation that like she had her driver license revoked for speeding. So it's like, okay, well that would come in handy then. So and we cut to Harry and the cops um are like running into action, getting things together. I think it's actually Mac here because it's like the I think I didn't watch the director commentary for this, but I remember the last time I did. This is where I learned about. So this is the helicopter that Mac is in. It's called a no tar helicopter. Like it doesn't have a tail rotor.
Okay.
So it just must do magic things with the main rotor to keep it from counter rotating or from rotating from counter rotating from the main. Um,
Sorry.
Then we also cut to Howard's lair, and it's just a wall of TVs and monitors all over the place, which was kind of pretty common for an evil lair in the 90s. He's got like closed circuit televisions. He's got all kinds of like stuff in there. I felt like those shelves were gonna fall at any moment. All those TVs got to be like 50 pounds.
Yeah, those are the old school, the fat TVs. Is
Jack is trying to get a situation on the bomb. There's a bunch of C4 and a gold watch as a timer. Which that kind of sparks Harry's interest because he's like talking on the cell phone. He has to open up an access panel and look under the car while they're driving. So they have to do everything while they're driving. So just adds tension to everything. So this is why that's pretty much why you don't need, because the bus is always moving. That's why you don't need the first act or the last act. You can just have this whole part of the movie be the movie if you wanted to.
yeah.
And I guess there's some trivia about like when they were screening this. What do you call that? When you're doing screen tests.
Oh yeah, screen tests. Yeah.
That like they knew they had a hit on their hands when people would go to the bathroom. They'd walk backwards because they didn't want to miss a second of the movie.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Now I don't know if that's true. That could just be fun mythos.
Sounds cool though. I like the sound.
Don't let a lie get in the way of a good story.
Right. I feel good about this. I feel like I can do this too. Like all this stuff.
They run into a traffic jam, and Jack tells her to stay on the shoulder, and so they just start running. So they just start running. They're running. They're bouncing this bus off the side of cars. They're knocking down the signs on the exit ramp and stuff like that. It's a very fun scene. Harry. Then we cut to Harry's trying to figure out like who the bomber is, and he thinks it might be a cop because like they said like we looked through all the mug shots and we didn't find him. It's like, no, we need to be looking at cops. Then Mac gets in contact with Jack. They're in the city and they need help dodging traffic and people. But they're not there yet. That this time they're all on their own because they had because they had to get off the freeway. I can't remember why. There was a traffic jam on the freeway, and so they got off because they couldn't just run through all those cars, and so now they're in city traffic, which is unpredictable, and not meant to go 50 miles an hour. Although I'm pretty sure in LA that's probably what people drive. So, what do they call it? What they call stop signs? Like what do they call it? They call it a California stop when basically you just ignore a stop sign.
It's called rolling stop. Yeah. You basically slowed it. Take your foot off the gas, look both ways, and then go.
Yeah.
Side.
One thing I've been thinking about recently. So, like, let's say like you pull up to a stop sign, and the car in front is stopped, but you're also stopped. Are you stopped at the stop sign?
Well, technically. So you could just roll on through, but you probably stand a good chance of getting hit if anyone's also waiting on the right or left. That's why they went to roundabouts, so you can just be hit by people and totally not paying attention. or people that always assert the right of way in every situation.
Or or you're just not. Yeah, well, I guess with a roundabout, you're not getting T-boned. It would always be like a 45-degree blow rather than a 90-degree blow.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, see, roundabouts are real easy. You drive, we drive on the right, so got that mastered. Yield to people in the circle. That's it. But some people don't get that.
Yeah,
Multiple times I've had people like, okay, I'm in the circle, here I go, and you're pulling out. But the roundabouts they have here are flat in the middle, so you can always get over. Or my other favorite is when I'm in the circle and then somebody yields to the people outside the circle,
yeah.
stops everything, and then you got to honk, and it's like, what am I doing? I'm
Yeah.
confused. Then it doesn't help in the fall when you have random turkeys circulating in and out of the roundabouts because they've claimed them as a nesting area. So it's like, well, I'm not yielding, I'm dodging turkeys. So don't honk at me.
Yeah. The first time I encountered roundabouts, I was confused and I was I was scared because
Yeah.
I never had training for roundabouts at any point until I came upon them.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, I don't know, like those 4-leaf clover interstate exchanges. Like those are always weird. I think I've been on one before, but like man, I can't get those through my head. So luckily, I have Google Maps. So
Yeah, they have a bunch of those around Brighton and Chelsea off the freeway.
yeah,
So that's weird because they're like dual lane roundabouts. So you want to be in the inner lane if you're just going, back to the other direction or backwards that way because you're still getting in a roundabout and going in the circle. But if you want to go on 23 north, 23 south, you got to get in the outer lane and then watch for that exit. And by the way, people are also coming in and everyone's cooperating and being helpful and courteous. So that's always
those double lane roundabouts. Like I've recently came across those ones. Those ones freak me out because it's like okay, if you're in the outer lane, you can exit anytime you want. But what the fuck's the inner lane for?
if you're getting off and you got to go to the right, so you get into the inner lane because it's going to loop back around, so you can just go. So what you do is you get in the inner lane and go, and then move to the outer lane as you're coming because you want to go that way.
Yeah.
But you can't just turn that way because they have an infeed coming that way. So it's kind of weird. I'm not describing it well, but yeah, once you figure it out, because there's also semi trucks and stuff in there too, which makes it fun. So yeah.
But like I imagine a scenario where I'm in the outer lane and someone's coming along with me and like I'm going straight, but then this guy's taking a turn and I can just imagine that going wrong.
It will. Well, you're not in an unimaginable scenario there. Because no one knows what the hell they are. Because I have like you, I've been driving for I don't know, at least 20 years, maybe longer, probably way longer. But yeah, there's zero training in America for that if you're already licensed.
Yeah.
Now Grayson had to learn about them.
Yeah.
Because they were introducing him by the time but I just figured it out. I just went to the MishGov website and like, oh, okay, this is how you do it. It actually makes sense when you read about it, the double and the single. And also there's something called a turbo roundabout, which basically slings you back the other direction if you get on the wrong, if you want to be northbound or southbound and you got on the wrong one, you get in the turbo roundabout. We don't have many of those. We have a few of them, and they're cool in cars. So I've graduated to SUVs because can't get cars anymore. You got to be a little more careful because a Fusion and an Escape have very different handling characteristics. Because I'm used to slingshotting around and stuff. Like, no, the Escape's like, woo! It's like, why is the back end getting loose? Oh, you're about to flip it over, dumbass. So,
well, that's the thing is like I think like every roundabout would be perfectly fine because as far as all the ones here, it's 15 miles an hour to go in the roundabout. But of course, nobody's doing that.
No. Balls, ball. Like the Road Warrior. People are like turning on their bottles as soon as they get in the roundabout.
Well, yeah, there's ones here I encounter where they're like really small roundabouts, and those ones are tricky because it might as well be a 4-way stop because it's hard to judge when like, all right,
are they stopping? Are they stopping? Are they stopping?
Well, there'll just be stuff where it's like, all right, one lane is going in, and then you're yielding to that lane, but then those people are just following the lead car through, and then you're just waiting there for 15 minutes till that whole lane gets.
You shoot the gap. And shoot the gap. Unless it's a continuous flow. which I've rarely, because we have those tiny round. There's no four-way stops around me anymore.
Yeah.
Everything's roundabouts. So yeah, when people start doing that, when you get that school of fish coming through where they're just following, and I don't blame them for that because I do the same thing too when I'm in that direction. But as soon as there's a car length gap, you start nosing out.
Yeah.
They're gonna beep at you. They're gonna be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" But it's like you're not supposed to be driving 50, dude. we can make this work. I'm going that direction, so I'm gonna get in there and heave around, and yeah, it seems weird. And there's all kinds of glass and car parts scattered, and people just bash into each other. But I'm not using medical marijuana or crack cocaine where I go to the roundabout, so I usually don't get hit.
Yeah.
Now, whether others are doing the same, I don't know. Probably not. Apparently, by all the debris I see, I've actually had to pick a tire up out of the roundabout and move it so I could go to work because there was a tire broke off in the roundabout, but no car around. So I'm thinking, what happened? Where is this three-wheeled car?
But I mean, the reason they switched to them because like they have data on it where it's like it's cheaper to maintain and it's safer. So
yeah, it's safer.
But it feels weirder because it's a sudden change. Now, of course, I guess if you're in London and they have that one giant roundabout, which like I don't know how the fuck that works. That seems terrifying. It's like
you mean the one from like European Vacation?
Yeah.
Look, kids, Big Ben. It's just like you just like a Ferris wheel.
And it's like 5 fucking lanes. It's like, how does this work?
It's one of those things where I tabled it as like, that's interesting. I'll never go there or have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's when I'm getting the taxi or the bus. Let them handle it.
Yeah,
I'm with Helen there.
I remember I looked into going to Europe for something once, and it was like, I think it was to Ireland, and it's like, well, that's cool. I mean, it's like, no, you have to drive a car there. I was like, well, wait a minute, no, the steering wheel's on the other side. Well, yeah, but you can figure it out. It's like, no, I'm not. Dude, no, I'm not figuring that out. Isn't there buses or something we can take? Not really, not very. I mean, if you're in Dublin, yeah. And I was like, I just not going. I just canceled. I just said, no, I'm not interested just because of that. I have to drive? No. Oh, and it's mainly stick shifts. It's like, cool, I can drive stick shifts. No, the pedal configuration is also moved over. It's like, no.
Yeah, you're gonna have to shift with your left hand now. Like,
yeah,
no,
not doing that. Cancel. Give me my deposit back.
Although now they probably have Uber stuff there you could probably utilize now.
I would never drive in a right-hand drive country. I'm too dyslexic. It took me long enough to figure this left-hand drive out. It's like we should have consensus on two things. I do believe. Number one, we should all be using the metric system because everyone's using it. I get maybe we should use Fahrenheit for temperatures because it's easier to visualize it that way. But everything else should be metric, and we should all drive on the left-hand side, left-hand side wheel. That we should just agree on that. Everything else is optional, but we don't do those things. So,
yeah,
another reason I'll never go to foreign countries. That and I'm poor. So,
you ever seen
those two?
You ever seen those crazy exchanges where we're like in Europe where it crosses over to a country where they have different sides and like you have to has to shoot you out on the other side of the different lane?
Yeah. I forget. There's a map of the countries that do right-hand drive. It's basically like Australia and the UK and Ireland and because
I think there's one Eastern European country that does it too because I think that's where that exchange is at.
This needs to stop.
Yeah,
this is ridiculous. Can we just do one thing, or we can go full McLaren, just put it in the middle. Just have a passenger on either side, which is now illegal. You can't do those anymore.
What's that?
Have the center seat.
Oh, okay.
You can have if you own one, if you own an original McLaren, you can do it. But yeah, they said you can never do that again.
Huh.
I don't know what the reasoning is, but I think it's because you don't. I don't know because I love those the Mad Max Interceptors.
Yeah.
And there's companies that make the replica, and they'll even do full right-hand drive if you want it. Like if you want to be totally authentic, go right-hand because it's just a fiberglass shell.
Yeah.
They don't have any of those cars left anymore. Or if they do, they're worth like a fortune. But yeah, it's like we can go full authentic and do right-hand drive. But boy, making a left in Santa Monica, you're with that blower sticking out of it. Oh, good luck, everyone. Because you just there's cars in my neighborhood. I don't know who has them, but there's a Toyota and a Mazda. and they're weird looking cars. So someone brought them from overseas.
Yeah.
Toyota's like it's like a glass bubble all the way up. Like the doors open and close. It's like glass channel seals, and the roof is glass, and it's a right-hand drive car. So you know it was never meant to be
Huh.
here. And it's sitting. I've never seen the guy out because I want to ask him like, what is that, and where'd you bring it? Why'd you bring it here?
Yeah.
Because if you get hit in that by an F-150, you're dead. You're driving a fishbowl around. That's what it looks like with the wraparound, like glass all the way. Because like, okay, your door pillars are like way down low, and it's just glass all the way up, and it hooks into a glass channel here,
Huh.
and it looks like a futuristic car. It's like, man, if you get hit by a excursion in that, you're done.
I remember they made a handful of like I think it was like Jeep Grand Cherokee right-hand drives here, for like rural mail carriers.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, driving's fun till it sucks.
Yeah. Once you start moving the steering wheel around on you.
Oh yeah, that's what I read. I thought Tesla was trying to build their truck with like a set with like in the driver sits in the center, and then it was fun having someone tear it out apart. It's like this isn't gonna work compared to all those current standards we have. So it's like, why are you doing this? Oh, to be different. It's like, yeah, that works out. They're firing 10,000 employees because you want to be different with the stupidest truck in the world.
You want to know one more car thing, and then we got to get this over with. You want to know what the secret success story of the electrified truck is? Is the Ford F-150 F-Series hybrid.
Yeah.
The construction people cannot get enough of that because it has that reverse inverter in the back.
Yeah.
You just run all your saws and stuff off the truck, and it's like they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You can't find one. It's like special order that you don't find one on the lot. You can get the Lightnings all day long, which nobody wants because they're like $100,000. I mean, they look cool, but oh yeah, it's like, well, we got to run a table saw, run an air compressor, or whatever. Just start the truck, plug in, and like everyone loves those. So it's like the hybrid F-150 for like finished carpenter. I mean, I don't know like how much you can run, but for cabinet makers and stuff, they're like, yeah, I want this truck exclusively.
Yeah.
Let's save the planet? No, to run saws. That's what I want.
I don't want to bring a generator in here. The generator's the truck.
Yeah, I for what I'm paying for this truck, it's built-in generator. You can also power your house with it. You can do some kind of reverse thing where you just run it into your house.
We've finally gone beyond that thing in Predator where they were like running the cocaine factory off of a truck that was just a belt mounted to like the rear axle of a truck that was running. So it's gone one step further. Now it's just a plug-in. Let's see. Oh yeah, so Mac is trying to like clear a path for him, so they're trying to get them police escorts. And he hits a baby carriage and freaks out, thinking she hit a baby, but then it's just cans. So
yeah.
The bus gets a police escort, but now then she, as soon as they come up, like now there's like kids walking in the way, and then she has to dodge it. It's like, why aren't they in school? So that's a fun thing here because I remember like people talk about like how like Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves had such great chemistry in this movie, and really I think what it is like it's not a romance movie, so they don't have to sit there and like look each other in the face and like try to like let's see if we believe that they're in love. They're looking forward the entire time, and then we're looking at them, so it's just two pretty people next to each other, and I think that's all the chemistry that really this movie has.
Yeah, it's in a high pressure situation, so there's not a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just back and forth. It's like, do this, do that, do this, do that. And it's like, they seem to be getting along well. It's like, well, yeah, they're scared to death, technically.
Yeah. But they're cooperating.
Yeah.
Which people confuse for like a working romantic relationship.
Yeah. They must love each other. It's like, no, they're just operating on fear.
Which that's how you got married in like the 50s and ended up with 8 kids you didn't want.
Yeah. You resent.
You're never going to be as good as me. Why'd you have me?
Yeah, you can't beat dad. I don't want you to achieve or do anything better than me. It's like, why? It's because I'm massively insecure. That's what America's built on, insecurity. Dick sizes. That's all America is.
um,
And we're just the latest people to play the game.
yeah.
It's like this is like going on throughout human history.
So Mac is trying to direct him back to get on the freeway. They have to make a hard right. And he's scared that the bus will tip over. And then Jack thinks about it. It's like, yeah, you're right. And he makes everybody get onto one side of the bus to try to counterweight it as they make the turn.
Human ballast.
Yeah, so they do the turn and the bus starts riding on two wheels for a bit, which that's fun. Which there was like one guy in Hollywood, like that was his specialty. Like they did this in a ton of movies where they had a guy would just where the characters would end up driving the car on two wheels. They did it in Twins. They did it in License to Kill with a whole fucking semi to dodge a rocket launcher.
Remember that.
And they do it in this movie. There's a lot of riding on two wheels in the 80s and 90s. And I believe it was just one guy that did all those stunts. They just
there's only so many people that make a study of, what is it, 3,000 hours to be a master? It's like, how many people can invest the time to that? You can put a forklift on two wheels too, but you have to do it in a weird way. Well, certain models.
Yeah.
Certain models. It has to also weigh over 18,000 pounds, that's an unusually large forklift.
Oh, okay.
You can't do it with a 12,000 pounder or 16,000 pounder. It has to be a big one. You got to swing it and tap the brakes at the right time. It's called the elephant's foot. Because as soon as you tap the brakes and then let off it'll boom, it'll come back down. It makes a very distinct noise. And it'll also blow the bearings out in the wheels, and the mechanics get angry. Did you do that? No, sir. The stability won't allow that to happen. Can't do that.
The police now have the bus running on the freeway with an escort. Andy and Jack talk about the situation. Harry and his team are still looking for Howard. Mac shows up with a flatbed to get people off the bus, but Jack weighs it off because like Howard will blow the bus. He also points at the helicopters like he'll know. And this would be in the wake of the OJ thing, so that would be also something. It's like, oh yeah, like a bus chase on the TV. That's definitely, we've seen that before. Jack talks with Howard. Jack negotiates to get Sam off the bus because he's shot, and is like, hey, look, it'll look good to the money people, and we'll get you the money. And then they get him off, and this is where Sparkle Motion Lady Helen tries to make her move, and which actually I feel like this is the police fault here because they're like, come on. They're the sirens here. They're beckoning to go toward the rocks on the shore. And then she tries to get off, and then Howard blows like up the steps on the bus, but not the bus. And then
I call these disciplinary bombs. Much smaller devices designed to, discipline you.
Yeah. And then she gets run over by the bus and dies, and so everybody laments over like the possibility of dying. But also like they start talking again. They mention something like, they're mad, they're sad that she's dead and that they're also might die as well. But the thing that she's worried about is that she was happy that she died and not her, so that's what she's really concerned about. It's hard to deal with emotions where you have to keep driving a bus before it'll blow up. So
yeah, you can't stop and like think this over. And it's like, I have survivor's guilt. Let's talk about that. Which that's another weird concept to me. It's like, no, just be survivor's joy. Why is there guilt? You didn't push her off the bus. She acted selfishly. She endangered the collective. Must be purged.
Yeah, they start yelling at each other. There's also there's the white guy who kind of has like medium length hair, kind of looks like a 90s grunge guy. He's got like one earring in.
Yeah.
And I like his voice sounds weird. I feel like he was ADR'd for all of his lines, and I don't know if that's true or if this guy just has a weird voice. But did you catch that being weird? That every line that guy delivered?
Yes, he seemed to be talking weird.
Okay.
It's Like, why is this guy talking? Like, why can you hear him clearly? Because he has like a deeper voice than even Keanu Reeves,
Yeah.
and you can hear him very quite clearly. So they must have either his mic was screwed up, and they just like, oh, one day we got a bad dialogue, so we got to do all his dialogue to make it smooth, and then it was anything but.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just guessing.
Because I always thought this guy had like either like they didn't like the actor's voice or it was sound production problems. I didn't know if I never heard anybody else talk about like this guy's lines being weird, but so I was just asking.
I'm guessing it was sound production quality. He probably was fine,
Yeah.
but they had one day where it was screwed up because this movie was notorious for a lot of one takes on the stunts because they were so dangerous.
Yeah.
So whatever they were integrating that day, and if his mic wasn't hooked up right, it's like, okay, we got to ADR all his dialogue because we're not shooting that again. So,
then the cops get some info that the freeway isn't finished. There's a section missing, which is fun. Mac pulls out his map. Like, what are you talking about? It's on the map. It's on the goddamn map. It's like, I guess they fell behind. So he announces this to the.
what are we building Chinese freeways now?
Then Jack announces this to the people on the bus, and then of course they're like, "Oh, great! Well, we're all gonna die again." And then Jack's plan is to floor it. It's like
as fast as we can.
It's an interchange. It's an interchange. There'll be like a ramp or whatever. I think that's what he says. And
yeah.
So there's great build up of the tension as they they try to like build up speed. The fastest the bus can go is like 70 miles an hour, and then the other cops have to pull off. The trailer behind where you have like the cops on the trailer. That's where you know that the film was sped up because because there's a scene where the bus kind of comes towards the camera like as fast as it can, and if you like watch the people, the SWAT guys on the truck in the background, you can see them like they move like this, because oh, the film sped up. So
Now, mind you, this bus, standard equipped, weighs 21,000 pounds. That's almost 10 tons. That's a little over 10 tons.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like half a Abrams.
Yeah.
To do this bus jump, they had to completely gut the bus to make it as light as possible.
Well, buses are all back heavy because all the engine, transmission are in the back.
Yeah.
So all the weight's centered over the rear axle. And I actually think they have weight plates under the front of it to keep the front end down because there's so much weight in the back it would tip like this.
Yeah, I think they had to do something different because I think one of the jumps, it was like too flat and it didn't look like it like went up enough. And so they had to do it again. And one of those, they flipped the bus and they had to get another bus. I think Mythbusters like did a version of it to try to see if it could, and they basically like, no, that wouldn't work. Because also like the bus wouldn't survive the fall. So
no, well, if you watch the Dukes of Hazzard and you see the General Lee on those crazy jumps, it always cuts as soon as it lands. I want to show you all the tires and just the axles getting ripped out from underneath it.
Yeah. But
they make jumping vehicles, but they're mostly suspension.
Yeah.
If you pay attention, like those desert rally trucks, they could do that stuff, but they're mostly suspension. They're like 5 shock absorbers per wheel. Those break all the time.
Yeah. So they hit the jump. They try to make it look like there's like a little bit of an extra ramp. They show the bus go up. They show it flying, and they show it like landing on the ground. Which this is a great scene because
it's cool.
It's like how ridiculous can you how are they gonna make it out this time? Floor it, And of course everybody's ecstatic after this. Or I think the one ADR guy's like something. I forget what he says. Like yeah, we can't lose or something like that. So and then Jack sees that there's an exit to the airport, so he's like, they have to make another quick turn. It's like, take this, and then they have to like, of course this is a pre 9/11 movie because they just break through a fence at an airport, and don't get in trouble. But I'm guessing the cops inform them pretty quickly that like, okay, there's an emergency situation getting on here, but also one one of like the dual tires on the back hits one of the spike strips and gets popped. So
Yeah.
that will be an element later on. But yeah, so now they have the airport runway, so now they can just run circles and keep it above 50. Um, and also the other thing, which I guess I only caught it this time, but it was dual thinking for Jack, because this gets the news news choppers off their back because they can't fly through the airport's airspace.
Right.
um, but then also but then immediately there's news vans show up, so it doesn't matter. But that works in their favor too. So, Howard calls up asking about the money. Jack negotiates to get himself off the bus because that's technically not part of the rules he set up. Jack hops on an SUV and talks to Mac. Jack thinks that Howard can what the right? Oh, that he still says that even though they got rid of the choppers, that he thinks they can still see him. He doesn't know how, but he's pretty sure, and so they can't just evacuate the people now. Jack gets on this big what do you call those, crawlers, like those things that get underneath cars, but this is like an industrial one.
Yeah, it's like service creeper.
Yeah. I don't know. Did they make this for the movie, or is this like have an actual use or anything like that?
I mean, they'll actually use those to work on things. They don't have the kind of bearings it takes to go at that speed.
Yeah.
But they do make those for guys to lay down on, slide in and out of the vehicle.
But this thing has like rubber tires on it and stuff like that. It basically looks like a go-kart, but with like no engine on it or whatever. But so I didn't know if this was like a real thing that they bought or if they just made this for the movie and said it was.
I'm assuming they made this for the movie. The big rubber tires would be nice, the big knobby tires, because if you ever worked on cars, there's always lots of bolts and grease laying around that will stop those little tiny tires very quickly. So
on the casters.
Yeah.
So yeah, he gets under the bus and he's like trying to defuse the bomb. Harry's trying to guide him over the phone. He cuts the sheath to try to see like what kind of wire it is. Because like Harry says something like, I don't think it's copper. He's probably using, I can't even remember what he says, like some fiber optics or something like that. Which is fun here because like I've done electrical work now. Now this seems like extra hard because here he has to specifically just cut the plastic sheath open so he can look at the wires underneath, but not cut the wires. And I'm like, yeah, that's hard to do, especially if you're under a bus that's going 50 miles an hour. It's almost impossible.
That's good enough to do sitting still. So,
so I appreciated this time around. Like that took talent. And then we come back to the police department, and one of the ladies figures out who it is. It's Howard Payne, Atlanta PD bomb squad. So Harry and them go after Howard. There's some loose rubber from the tire kind of breaking apart that knocks the crawler around under the bus. The crawler gets out of control. And then the wire breaks, and Jack climbs onto the bus undercarriage by stabbing a screwdriver through the gas tank, which I'm like, either that's he has monumental strength, or like that gas tank was really old and ready to go. You can just stab a flat screwdriver through it. But
most gas tanks are either made out of plastic or aluminum, so they don't corrode. So it's actually conceivable you could stab. Yeah.
But he's still not completely hanging on. Like his feet are kind of hanging down and like scraping along the ground. So it's that seems uncomfortable. But he's not.
Yeah, you're about to get folded up like a taco, dude.
The passengers open up a bunch of access panels to try to get to Jack, and they eventually they hold on to Ortiz's legs as he kind of leans down to grab Jack and pull him up through. So now the passengers have to work together to help Jack. So it's a good we're working together.
It's kind of like Spider-Man on the subway. They had to lift him up, and bring him back in.
Which I always remember this guy being called Ortiz, but I remember the first thing that actually Jack calls him, he's like, "Hey, Gigantor," and then the other guy, the 90s long hair guy, also calls him Gigantor as a joke, but eventually they all become friends. No, not really, but but yeah, he's Ortiz. Harry's team gets to are going to raid Howard's house, but it ends up being a trap, and so Harry gets blown up, and now he's dead. which actually Jeff Daniels has this great kind of lip quiver it's very almost imperceptible. Where it's like,
Yeah.
it's he's not cowering. He's just like, he got me.
Yep. Damn it. Didn't think it was going to end this way.
uh, I did all the right things, and it didn't go my way. Then Howard calls up Jack and to tell him that Harry's dead, and this is where he also gives a line like, "I'm gonna rip your spine out." Which I'm guessing this must be post Mortal Kombat. So, I don't know. They've done that in other movies too. Then they probably did that like every 5 minutes in like Dead Alive.
Oh,
Just spines everywhere. Howard tells him to drop the money off in a specific garbage can. Jack hangs up and he starts freaking out and beating things up, and he's like trying to calm him down, and he just kind of like gets quiet and he's like, "We're gonna die."
Looks like no.
We've gotten this far. We can keep going. Don't worry, Jack. So it's a good like turnaround where it's like you have like all the characters kind of getting different ranges of emotion. So yeah, you have to have Jack hit low. He's just like giving up. So Jack notices that Annie has like an Arizona Wildcat T-shirt or sweatshirt, and like when he's been talking to Howard, Howard keeps calling her a Wildcat. So this is the clues into Jack that there's like a camera on board, and so he like looks around, he finds it behind like the mirror to like look back at the passengers or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny how big that camera is. Once you find, because nowadays you can literally get cameras that could do that are the size of your pinky.
Yeah.
Like you get 20 of them on the bus. Just tie them into bus power, and they wouldn't use an appreciable amount of energy even.
I'm just wondering how he's getting that broadcasted out. Like that has, he's an amazing technician to do that. So,
right. Well, if he can do a cell phone transmitter to a bomb, he could do the same thing with that.
Yeah.
Because I forget how many. I don't know how many. What you'd have to put that out at frequency wise, but yeah.
I think when they go to the news van, they say something like, "Can you get this out as a UHF signal?" So it's a UHF signal going out somewhere.
Okay.
So it's like a local broadcast. They get a news van to help them out with like spoofing a video over Howard's camera. So this is where they tap into his UHF feed to put a tape loop in. But they don't have a lot of time, so they can only do like a minute loop because like the bus is running out of fuel now.
Yeah.
Which I thought they were gonna have like do a fuel truck, like kind of like we're gonna try to fuel this up as it's going, but I don't even know where like the fuel tank is to load it up on those things. So I don't even know like how that would work.
Yeah, I don't think it's externally accessible. I imagine you'd have to open a door. Because if that was the case in public transport, people would just be stealing fuel on the bus all the time.
The cops have another bus to get the people off, and like, man, do you know what the hell this bus is? It's got like doors on the front and the back and the side. Is this like something at the airport, or like what the hell is this bus?
Yeah, this is an airport bus.
Okay.
Hold on, I have it on my. See if my website's gonna come up now. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, I just thought this was like a wild bus that like I don't think I've ever seen it in operation, but it's like, why has it got the doors on the front and the back? Which I'm guessing there's a reason.
It's just for rapid loading and unloading.
Okay.
That's it. I had to get one when I was in Atlanta. They had those at Hartsfield.
Okay.
And you could basically just get on everywhere.
Okay.
Because that's like the busiest airport in the world.
Yeah.
Yes, it's called a O with umlauts, OAFSU. It's a Swedish bus.
Okay.
That it's designed to just front and back load. I don't think it loads off the sides.
Well, here they load on the sides.
Oh yeah, no, this version they did.
Okay.
Yeah, usually front and back. But yeah, that's just to rapidly get people on and off. They are weird looking. Because I think they only go like 35, 40 miles an hour, at least the one I was on.
Okay.
They just get you from one part of the airport to the other. Especially colossal airports. I don't know how big LAX is. I know the Atlanta airport's like, I think it's the biggest one in the world. It's crazy. You got to get on like a tram, like a subway car to get on a bus to get on this thing to go get your luggage.
Yeah. That's I wanted to Dallas Fort Worth. Like, yeah, they have a big tram system to get all around the airport. Yeah, I believe Atlanta is like the biggest international airport in the world. Or
Yeah.
at least it was at some point. When they built it, it was huge.
Well, and half of it's like a FedEx hub.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then.
That's the U.S. FedEx distribution center is
Okay.
Hartsfield, and it's like, yeah, it's massive amount of planes coming in and out, like in a chain. Like you can see them as you're landing. It's like there's really planes in a circle. Like this is nuts.
Matt gives like a rope and like a like a pipe to so they can like they can hold the wheel and keep the pedal down so they can get everybody off the bus. The bus wheel blows up just as they get like the tourist guy off the bus, and then like he's kind of like gets so like the platform like falls on the ground, so he's getting dragged around, and like Ortiz pulls him in. But now like Annie and Jack are the last ones on the bus, so they have to figure out how to get out of there before the bus blows up. They wedge the gas pedal and tie off the wheel, and then they use one of the access panels to like just grind out underneath the bus. And then they like glide to safety, which it feels like they on this access panel like they had to put wheels on it, or it was just gliding nicely as they had it. I don't know.
Put wheels on it. They pulled it with a rope because trust me, it was only going like maybe 15 miles an hour max.
Yeah.
Because in real life, you would have either been thrown off that panel as soon as it hit the ground, or you would have had 2nd-degree burns from that thing, scraping across the concrete. But it's a movie. It was fun.
They glide to
and if it was either that or get blown to bits, I'd try the action panel. It's like, I'm doing this one way or another.
They glide to safety. They kind of run into these like pylons that like the kind of like not the heavy ones. These ones they kind of like easily knock over.
Yeah.
And then the bus like the rope comes loose. It takes a turn, and then it hits a cargo plane and explodes. It's just a giant explosion. But they make sure
very well done explosion.
Yeah, they make sure to they'll like show that like nobody's on the plane. There's only the guy like that's what do you call that, the little cart thing that drives the planes around that holds on
the dolly to load the that loads the luggage in the bottom.
Yeah, so they show him run out to safety, so everyone's fine. So
it'd be sad. It was like 300 people on it. Got killed. It's like, well, we saved these 12 people.
Annie and Jack get emotional over surviving, and then Mac comes up and is like, "Yeah, you son of a bitch, you did it." And then he's like, "Well, Mac, this is Annie." There's also what she mentions that like relationships that are based on like stressful situations don't last. So that's the end of Act 2. We got Act 3. They have Annie and Jack with the medics. Howard calls up looking for his money, but Jack's kind of whispering, says Howard doesn't know the bus blew up, and so now they're going to lay a trap for him. We cut to I don't know where this is in L.A., but they drop off the money at the garbage can they were supposed to. They have some garbage men do it, or it's a police posing as garbage men. We see Howard's point of view, and he's like notices all the snipers around, but he just kind of laughs at it. But this also like when we realize like when they did the camera loop, they show that like Howard was in the bathroom at the time, so he didn't catch it then. But now he's like kind of like pondering now, and now that's where he sees that there's a loop because some lady like moved her purse from one side to the other, and so the purse will just randomly appear, and so he's like, then he gets mad. But now he knows like no, it's a trap now. Well, I guess he always knew it's a trap, but he had other, But Howard goes out in his cop uniform and he takes Annie because she doesn't know who he is, and so like this works out that way. There's something where it's like Jack's like turn the tracker on, the money's moving. It's like as a movie, you don't need to turn it on. I'm like, I don't know what limitations the tracker has, but like, dude, once you have that in position, turn the tracker on. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They see that the money's moving, and then so Jack runs to the garbage can. He throws it over, and he sees there's a hole in the ground, and he's like, oh, he's moving underground. So he jumps in the hole in the ground. He pulls his gun up, and he like sees somebody, and then he like tells her to stop, and then he sees that it's Annie, who grabbed the money, but now she has a bomb vest on her, and then Howard comes out laughing. He's got the dead man switch again, so we're kind of like repeating the situations. And he's like, "Oh, why don't you shoot the hostage this time, Jack?" Um, and then Howard runs off with Annie, and he hijacks a subway train. Jack gives chase. Uh, Howard gives Annie the dead man switch so he can shoot the conductor who's like trying to answer a radio. And then we see Jack crawling on the top of the subway train, but then Howard hears him. And then he's like kind of joking to himself. He's like, "Hey, how much money can I give you to go away?" So he goes in to casually grab the money, and this is where the dive bomb goes off. And now this is where Howard completely loses it because he's like, "My money!" And then he just runs screaming to go after Jack. And so he shoots through the roof to try to get Jack, and Jack's like rolling around, and the rolling around, he loses his gun in the meantime. And then Howard gets up there. He's got the dead man switch in his hand. He's like, now they're boxing on top of the subway car, but like they can't even get their feet under them, so it's kind of an awkward and interesting fight. But we also have the preamble of this where Jack has to roll out of a way of a light because that almost hit him, and so like when they're fighting, like Howard gets the upper hand, and he's like choking Jack, but then Jack just like kind of pushes his head up, and at the last moment, that's where Howard notices that he's going to get his head knocked off, and then his head gets knocked off. So he did rip some of his spine out. So
isn't that the same way the guy in Mission Impossible 3 died? The bad guy.
I can't remember.
He get his head ripped off by a.
I can't remember how he died in that.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah,
maybe there's more connections to Mission Impossible and Speed than I can remember. I'll have to do side by side at some point. So he gets decapitated by the light, and then also this allows his body flies away, but then Jack's able to grab the dead man switch without it going off. He gets back into the train. He disarms the vest, but now the train's a runaway and they can't stop it. The track isn't finished, which is like, this is like, now you're getting to disbelief. It's like, you've already done that one. Like, what are you doing? But then like he doesn't have a key to the cuff, so they can't uncuff her to just jump off the train. So then Jack decides, all right, we're gonna speed up the train because we're coming up to a curve. So if he speeds it up, he's gonna jump the train off the curve, and then that will do something. They hold on to each other as they basically like wait to die and crash the train. The train jumps the track, goes up an incline, and then pops out into the middle of the street of Hollywood because it like goes up through like a subway, like what do you call those? Like the stairway to go down to the subway. I'm not sure if those have a special name or not.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's escalator to the subway. Yeah.
And then it flies out on the street and goes to a stop, and then they kind of like, it stops like literally. I think it literally stops in front of Man's Chinese Theater, which is like one of the most famous theaters in the world. Like this is where they do Hollywood premieres. That's where like the Hollywood Walk of Fame is.
Theater, Grumman's Chinese Theater.
Oh, is that what it's called? I thought it was just Man's Chinese Theater.
Man's Chinese Theater. Yeah, maybe it is. Yeah.
I don't know. It could have a different name by now. It's been there forever. But yeah, whenever you see like a red carpet premiere, it's usually at this theater. So
yes.
So they survive the situation. So they start kissing, and they mention the whole thing like relationships based on intense situations never work, and so I think she says something like, we'll have to base it on sex then, and so it's a fun little moment. They kiss some more, and then tourists. There's like a little tourist bus that the train car nearly hit, and they get out and they all start taking pictures of them, and then the camera pans up, and then we get credits, and that's the end of the movie. So it's a fun action movie, and a great premise, and a stupid movie and a great movie. It's all these things. That's why it was a very successful movie. It was an R-rated movie, which doesn't really seem that. Like, probably that decapitation is the most violent thing in the movie.
Yeah.
And then it's just like swearing beyond that. So.
And it was the 5th most successful movie of 1994. See, I remember that came out the same year as The Lion King, Forrest Gump, True Lies.
Yeah. Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Pulp Fiction. So, yeah.
Yeah, good year for movies.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, it's just a great action movie, and even though it's like convoluted and dumb, it's very clever. So
Yeah, you forgive it those things because you want to believe in it. It's like, yeah, this is fun.
yeah.
Enjoying this. I don't want to like step in and like bring reality into it.
Yeah, because they all would have died at every moment. um, well, we're sending a probe into space containing the supercut of the scenes of the imperfect collection that is the Verhoeven Effect. Nathan, what scene from Speed are we chucking into space?
The bus jump scene,
Okay.
because it encapsulates everything about the movie. You want to believe this is possible. You know it isn't,
In
but it doesn't stop it from being fun.
1994, you will believe a bus can fly.
I a 20-ton bus will fly, or 10-ton bus or whatever will fly through.
Was that the Superman? Was that the Superman uh, advertising? It was like, was it like in 1979? You'll believe a man can fly, and that was for the Superman movie or something like that.
Might be.
I think that's famous advertising. I can't remember.
Those movies, especially the first two, have those are amazing stories behind those too.
Yeah. Well, you can find us at Letterbox username VHE. 1 out of 5 stars. What are we giving Speed?
Oh, we're giving it 5
Okay.
for sure. Yeah, this is the nonsense I love.
I actually thought this was going to be a shorter movie, but it was like almost like a 2 hour movie, but it wasn't.
Yeah, they fill its time.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it, but
No,
so it's very well done. Which I don't know, like what magic. I feel like you watch these movies, like why don't they just make more movies like this? And I feel like it's a hard formula. Like you just can't do the same things because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So
yeah, there's a lot of things that go into. I mean, we've talked about a lot of movies over a lot of years, and one thing we've is like there is no rhyme or reason to what should be good and what is good
yeah,
and what turns out good. There are people that can like make it happen.
yeah,
Stanley Kubrick, like people like you can give them any material, and it's like this is going to be amazing when I'm done. But not everyone can do that. Of course, not everyone has a 160 IQ either. So that's
yeah.
except Quentin Tarantino, he does also.
But I feel like this, like this production wasn't full of geniuses, and they did make a genius movie. So.
Yeah, but they couldn't repeat it. Obviously, they
Well,
made a sequel, and it's like, yeah,
yeah.
that didn't work.
But I would say like Twister, which is a lot of the same people again. Like that's a cool action movie.
Yeah,
I wonder how Twister's gonna be.
I don't know. I've heard about that, but
um, but yeah, I mean, this is still like around the time where like, because the '80s, like a lot of the '80s movies, you did like really short movies, and I feel like the '90s did keep stuff still short, and now we're in an era where it's like everything's really long, which is kind of confusing because I feel like now it's like more expensive than ever to just put something on screen, and I don't know if it's like we can't cut any of it because we put too much money in it, or if it's like no, we have to tell the story. They're just I don't necessarily, or they're just telling more epic stories, I guess. But
I think they're doing more complicated storytelling.
yeah,
And I also think there is a certain like sale by weight
yeah,
where it's we got to cram as much as we can in so people feel like they're getting their money's worth.
which is the opposite of how they used to do things. Where it's in the '80s why they cut movies so short so they could have more screen times and get more money out of it. But now I guess that's just not an issue because
No.
now if a big new movie comes out at your multiplex, it's like half the multiplex is just going to be that one movie. Like just how things are released nowadays. So
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's hard to find sometimes it's hard to find time.
yeah,
So there's like 3 or 4 movies I definitely want to see this year, but it's like I'm just going to wait for them to come to whatever platform because
yeah.
it's
Because like I'll spend 3 hours in the movie theater, but that's not the only time expense. You have to get to the movie theater and do other things and leave the movie theater and like by the time you're done, like well that's 4 hours. That's like that's a third of the day just to watch a movie.
yeah.
Where I could be walking around the house and doing things or not doing things, but the possibility's there, and I could watch this movie and get things done if I want to or not. Whatever you want to do. It's more chill. So.
Yeah, and does everyone have air rabies or whatever is going on now? And
And if you miss something, you can pause it. And if the dialogue is shit, for which is weirdly probably the most weird thing about modern productions is how all the audio is garbage nowadays. I mean, the sound design is amazing, the soundtrack is amazing, but the audible dialogue is total fucking garbage. So now I'm just standard watching every movie with subtitles just so I know I can what they say.
Yeah, they seem to be doing a lot of that, more of that shoot on the fly. It's like, yeah, they're going to be talking and moving.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get everything. So you're not going to hear them like express dialogue, which is the weird philosophy. It's like, well, besides the visual aspect of that, if you're trying to explain complicated things, that's the only thing that's going to work.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are the characters doing this? It's, it's like, oh, okay.
Well, you can find us at verhoeveneffect.com. There we have listener support. You can support us at a monthly stipend of 99 cents, 49 or 9.99. You can rate our podcast whatever you want on your platform of your choice. But remember, the algorithm only listens to the highest rating. Remember, you control the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. So give us the highest rating, and then write a scathing review or whatever you want. Just give us 5 stars, man. Just come on. It's not that hard. Just break the system. You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us on Blue Sky Social at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us on Facebook at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory and watch both this and that show live and unedited. And so for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.